A very good morning to all of you for the second day of conference. We will wait another 5 minutes and then we will start up the conference for the second day. And by the time, let me introduce our first guest speaker. Our first speaker is Dr. Shah Banatul Misiria Jalal. She's an associate professor in nursing department in CAMS King Faisal University, Saudi Arabia. As she is having 25 years of experience and her as a professional membership, she is registered as Nurses Research Society of India, Trained Nurse Association of India, Academic Council, Savita University, Chennai, and she is a member of the thesis advisory committee also. And regarding her qualification, she has completed her PhD in nursing in 2007 to 2030 from Savita University, Chennai. And she has completed her DCA also. So, Shah Batul ma'am, I would like to request you to just start up your session now. If you want, I will share your PPT, or else you can do it from your end, ma'am.
Very good morning to everyone. Thank you, Dr. Manisha, for giving a wonderful introduction about me. I kindly request you to share my PowerPoint.
Okay, ma'am, I'll do it.
I would like to thank the organizing team, and having this really demandful topic you have organized for these 2 days. Okay, thank you. So today I'm going to present with you all about the AA integration and curriculum innovation. So actually I wanted to start with a little short story. Last year, when I had my ASCII examination with my final year student, one of my student was very anxious and she was asking me a lot of questions, and she said that I was not confident enough to attend my exam. And after some time, I had realized that during the examination she was doing really very confident, and she could perform very nicely. Then I asked her, how could it possible for you to do this? And then she said, ma'am, I didn't study from the book. I just used the AI to simulate the deteriorating patient condition, and this situation will make me to able to present very confident, because it's keep on changing the lab values and the patient compliance and a lot of things, so that I could be able to make more confidence in this. This is what she replied to me. So now I could understand that this difference using AI as a shortcut or using AI as a cognitive gym, we need to make understanding clearly. When the student use the AI as just as a shortcut, it's really going to reduce their critical thinking, and it's going to weaken their clinical reasoning, or it's going to, it's going to make just surface learning, and they will be more dependent on it. And also there will be a lot of chance of a risk for academic integrity violations. But when they use AI as a cognitive gym, really it is going to make them, it's going to strengthening their thinking, and it's going to increase their clinical reasoning. And also we have to understand this, like when we are going for our gym, it's going to develop our muscles. In the same way, this cognitive gym is going to really work out for their increasing their metacognition level, and it's going to increase their diagnostic thinking power, and also they can be able to develop the judgmental professional judgment actually. So today's seminar, it's about how we integrate this AA responsibility in our education. And it is not going to replace just the educator role, but it enhances the clinical reasoning. And also it's very important for our patient safety and this curriculum innovation. So here, the education has always evolved through a major disruptions. So if you look back into the historically, if you look back, what happened? It's we met a lot of transformation happening in our education. So this shift is really needed. Actually, first, education faced many disruptions from the invention from printing press to industrialization. And now we had knowledge. This is really delivered and accessed and valued through a lot of internet revolution. So now we are depending on more towards the internet facility. So this is democratizing access to the information, and suddenly the knowledge was no longer confined with the library. Because when I studied as a PSN, I used to go to library and take the book and read the books like this. But now the scenario changed. So people are now experiencing everything through the internet revolution. And this era is going to be definitely with the Gen AI. So now this is not just another technological tool. This Gen AI, we have to make it understand that it's representing the fundamental shift, how the knowledge is going to be created, processed, and the students are no longer consuming just information. They are going to create it with AI systems. Launch of ChatGPT or Gen AI, a lot of things we have. So when we are coming into the reality, yes, ma'am, next slide. When you coming into the reality, also we have to understand this is really making every institution formally allow the students not just to use AI and how they have to use it. Okay, that is what we have to make the practice. How the AI to be used for drafting the assignments and summarizing the research articles or preparing for examination, or either they are going to practice for their clinical scenarios, or either going to generate a care plan. So this question is no longer, are they using it? Are they using AI? No. Actually, the present scenario, we have to ask the question, are they using it responsibly and effectively? This is what we have to know that. So this uneven adoption create the inconsistency. And also we have to understand, still the policies are recovering. So most institutions are still developing AI guidelines, but this should be we have to make it with authorship, plagiarism, disclosure, all those things we have to consider, and we have to make it clinical accountability as well. So in the nursing and the healthcare education, this becomes even more complex. Whether can I assist the AI with the care plan writing, or can I support it with some summary, or are you going to use it in the research aspect? So finally, and most importantly, we have to understand one thing: avoidance is no longer option. So we cannot ban our way out of this transformation. We can pretend it does not exist. We cannot rely on the detection tools. Instead, we must shift from that control to guidance, or we have to go from fear to literacy, or prohibition to responsible integration. So because of the students or the graduates into healthcare systems that increasingly use of AI, it's really going to give a lot of benefits, because nowadays we are using in the clinical settings also, we are using the AI dramatically. So this reality is very clear. AI is already here. Students are already using it, and the policies are catching up. And now it's our responsibility as an educator. Now we have to lead, not to react. So now the question is, why this integration is no longer optional? Why AI integration is no longer optional? Because we have to make it clear. So for example, in radiology, the Google Health developing AI tools for image interpretation. In clinical documentation also, the nuanced communications, AI-powered documentation systems are used. In large language models, OpenAI developing generative AI used in academics and the clinical context. So if our students graduate without AI literacy, sometimes it is causing a problem. How? They may over-trust AI either, or they may underutilize the AI. Or sometimes the worsened situation, they may misuse the AI in the patient care. So this is what we have to, as an educator, we have to make the students to understand clearly how this is going to be used. So the central question is now, should we allow AI, or how do we redesign the curriculum responsibility in an AI forward world. So now I will move with my session roadmap. Next slide, ma'am. So this is my session roadmap today. So I am going to talk about the 4 important concepts here. The first one is as AI first pedagogy and prompt engineering for academics and ethical frameworks, as well as the curriculum innovation strategy. So I will discuss one by one. First, I will go with the AI first pedagogy. Yeah. So now the question is, what is first AI first pedagogy? So actually, it is curriculum designed assuming AI exists, and AI literacy is our core competency. And also we have to focus on critical augmentation and not just replacement. So we will get to know one by one. First, curriculum designed assuming AI exists. Here, I wanted to give some example. In my case, I am teaching pharmacology class. Previous slide, ma'am. Yeah, I am teaching a pharmacology class for the students. When I am asking, instead of asking, what are the, just list me the side effects of the drug vancomycin or gentamicin, something. So ask the students, now I have to ask the students, generate AI response about vancomycin. So now the students could be able to criticize, appraise it, and identify the inaccuracy, and they also can able to make comparisons with some evidence-based guidelines. So the students will learn actually, if we ask question like this, the students will learn the drug knowledge, and they will get the critical thinking, and also they may develop the AI literacy, and also evidence-based validation will be there. Another example I would like to give in my another subject, because I am specialist in the community health nursing, I would like to give another example how the students could able to use the AI. Here I will make the students generate a cultural appropriate didactic education plan. So cultural appropriate didactic education plan means in particular rural setting I'm telling. So the students will be able to modify it according to the local context. So the local context, some cultural sensitivity issues will be there, and they will bring it with the help of AI, and they can be able to evaluate the feasibility. So they may get a drafting, and then they can able to criticize it. So this is the way we can utilize it. Next slide, ma'am. So the curriculum designing assuming AI exists, and also we have to understand in the simulation enhancement, case-based learning, personalized learning, so many things we are going to use this curriculum designed as assuming AI exists. So we cannot prevent it. So here the curriculum audit framework is talking about, there are 4 steps. The first step is identify the integration points. And second step is add AI literacy objectives. Third is about redesign assessment. And fourth is about the faculty training. So each step we have to understand what we are going to do it. So now we have we have to know about the traditional versus AI integrated objectives. How are we going to understand about this traditional versus AI integrated objectives? So traditionally, we ask the students to analyze the case study. So what they will do, they will go and select the case from the hospital, and then they will read the scenario, and they will identify the problem, and they will write the care plan, and they will make the intervention. And this is what regularly we are doing it before. But now in AI integrated curriculum, we have to take one step ahead. So here, instead of only analyzing a case, the student must critically evaluate using the AI generated case analysis. They have to compare that how the AI interpretation in the clinical guidelines, and how they are going to detect the inaccuracy or omissions, and they should identify what are the bias, and they also have to justify why they accept or reject this certain recommendation. Okay, and also they have to shift the transformation learning, and the students are no longer passive problem solvers now. So they have to learn a lot, and they have to also well versed in technology more than us. So they have to utilize in a proper way. This is what we have to understand, the difference between the traditional and AI integrated objectives. And next, coming to the redesigning learning outcomes. So here we have to add outcomes such as students will critique the AI generated care plan, and the student will justify a modification in using the evidence-based guidelines. And also AI integrated assignments, we can make them to practice. For example, instead of, because if we are saying as teacher, if I am giving some assignment to the student, what they will do? Now, obviously, nowadays, they will go to the AA and ask, I want this assignment. Okay, the AA will create the draft and they will bring it to me. So now what I have to make them to do what? I will make them able to create AA generated draft critics. And so they will bring the content from the AA, but they will able to develop the critics about that. So they will learn from that. So AA assisted literature review comparisons. For example, I am asking them to bring the literature review with the comparisons. So also I can make some bias detection exercises or reflective disclosure statements. So these are the different kind of assignments if I am giving to the students. Obviously, the students also will learn how to learn through with the help of AI. So this is what every educator must understand. How are we going to utilize the AI by the students with the help of AI? How the students can utilize as well as develop their critical thinking. And next, coming to the assessment reform. So now we are moving from the just like the take-home essays to a lot of things. So how we are using the AI, how they are going to propose some of the methods like oral defense. Oral defense means the students will present, how we are conducting like Viva oral examination. The students will present and defend their ideas, or they have to make some case analysis verbally and demonstrating critical thinking, and also we are developing their articulation skills. And next, coming to the ASCII-based assessment, here objective structured clinical examination will stimulate the clinical scenario to evaluate the practical skill and their decision making, to analyze the reasoning, all those things, so they can be able to prioritize everything. And when it comes to the class case reasoning, so during the live class discussion, we can ask the students to analyze, prioritize. Even nowadays, every students are having their mobile. So now we cannot restrict the students, do not take your mobile, because when I am presenting my lecture, the students obviously they will use their mobile because they will have their PowerPoint already in their mobile, they will be using it. So I can ask them to use the AI and ask some questions. So they have to critically think and analyze, and they have to answer me. So this is the way I can be able to make some class case reasoning, and reflective Viva also I can do it. So a lot of things. So these are some of the proposed methods we have already in our practice. Next, coming to the AI literacy as a core competency. So here with the ability to understand the AI system function, and also they have to critically evaluate their output, and they have to use them ethically as well as transparently, because this is most important. So this is what the educators to help the students to make the utilization and apply them responsibly in professional decision making. So AI literacy really support safe medication decision making and evidence synthesis, clinical prioritization, professional identity formation, and also ethical accountability. So here we have to teach AI literacy as a competency. So now we have to know that how we are, we just like we teach evidence-based practice, informatics, professional ethics, but now we have to now teach prompt construction, output verification, bias detection, data privacy awareness, something we have to make them to aware. And coming to from the digital literacy to AI literacy, everybody knows how to use digital things nowadays, because the students are very familiar with all the digital technology usage. But also they have to know how they have to be able to use AI. So AI literacy is very important, and they have to think critically with the technology. So AI literacy is, why AI literacy is essential? Because graduate must evaluate their AI output, and they have to detect their hallucination, and they have to identify the bias, and they have to maintain the patient confidentiality, and definitely they have to apply ethical reasoning. So next slide, ma'am. So when you components of AI, coming to the components of AI literacy, we have to understand the capabilities, and we should recognize there are some limitations, and also everybody should know what is the prompt construction, output verification, and also ethical applications. These are the components of AI literacy are so important, because knowing what AI systems can effectively do, such as generating text, summarizing information, simulating the scenarios. Now we have to recognize how these functions can support our learning? How can this help in analyzing? How can it is going to help in our decision making? So these are the things are very, very important. Now coming to the next stopping in my road mapping, that is my next topic, is about prompt engineering for the academics. So now we have to understand what is prompt engineering or what is prompt construction. So here, prompt engineering is the ability to give clear instructions, and it's going to provide the context as well as it is going to define the output format, and it's refined iteratively. So really the prompt engineering is very, very needed for the faculty. How we are going to construct it? Next, ma'am. So we have to, next slide, ma'am. We have to understand this is the difference between the poor prompt and versus a strong prompt. So what is poor prompt? Poor prompt means just making a lesson plan. So here just we will design 2-hour simulation-based lesson plan for the ICU nurses, including learning outcome or activity or assessment, something like that. But when it comes to the strong, prompt engineering is all about how you ask AI to help you. Poorly crafted prompt gives vague and generic results. So now we have to have more knowledgeable how to ask the AI to give you a clear idea, clear picture, how to make the clear instruction. Well, this is what we have to have, this prompt engineering. So we need to know this. How are we going to use the AI for our syllabus designing also? Because being an educator, every people, every healthcare educators or every nursing professionals or any educators, they have to know how to create the syllabus design using AI. Actually, you know, when we now we are starting with a new specialization in the master program. So now how we make it? With the help of AI, we created the course outline. And based on the course description, course outline, we made learning outcomes. And also the AI will give you a clear picture for weekly sessions. What are the sessions? How many credits we want? Each credits, how many? What are the topics to be included? And what are the teaching strategy we are going to use? What are the evaluation methods we are going to access? Everything it will give a very good draft. So how we are assessing, how we are asking the AI to produce, it will produce accordingly. So now we can able to align the objectives with Bloom's taxonomy also. For example, our university is actually allowing taking the questions by using AI. But we have to be very careful as educator. We always follow the Bloom's taxonomy in setting questions. So now we will ask whether are we going to make all the questions are difficult level? No. So some percentage will be difficult level, some percentage will be moderate, and some percentage will be easy level. So we will follow that policy. Accordingly, we will prepare, and that exams to be moderated with our peer as well. So this is what we can use the AI in various ways. So it is also going to suggest a good evaluation method and create a weekly breakdown and everything. So now what is the responsibility of the faculty when we are dealing with AI? So when you make a AI draft, so the faculty should validate, because we have our own knowledge, our own cognition. So now we have to utilize our knowledge and our experience in validating the AI draft. And also we have to check with the clinical accuracy and cultural appropriateness or institutional alignment, because you know nowadays starting with every institution starting a policy for using AI. So we have to go with that alignment as well. Okay. And next slide, ma'am. So when you come to AI for lesson planning, so when we create the lesson planning, definitely AI can help educators to design engaging, structured, and outcome-focused lessons by providing a lot of things like example, case scenario. So case scenario means what? It is going to give the realistic situations for problem solving and clinical reasoning. And also we can able to make a discussion questions through that. Through that, we can also provoke the prompt to encourage the critical thinking. You know, we are using Socratic method. Socratic method, we will be keep on asking questions with the students. So this also can be possible with the help of AI. And also we can make some simulation script. So step-by-step guide it will provide. So we can make a role play in the ASCII examination, ASCII-based simulations. And quiz banks we can create with the help of AI. We can make a lot of questions. Quiz banks we can keep it readily available. And rubrics, we can create rubrics, wonderful rubrics. You want 5-point scale, Likert scale, whatever you wanted to make it. Use the AI and make it clearly. Okay, and coming to the AI for the research support, obviously when we are using in your curriculum, definitely it is going to support our research scholarly work as well. So here we can use AI for literature summary and concept clarifications or research questions refinement, even the topic refinement and survey drafting, and even if you want to publish, we can get help of AI in a various ways in the research output as well. Next slide, ma'am. So AI, it's not only helping in the curriculum and the research as well as in the administrative efficiency. So if you want to create email, or if you want to reply email, if you want to make any policy summary, if you want to create the accreditation templates, or if you are going to make minutes, anything, any work, you can get help from the AI. But only thing, as a educator, we have to validate it. Then impact on the faculty workload. Okay, now are this AI is going to be reduce our workload? Definitely yes, because since before, if we want to make a question bank or question setting, how much time it will take for me to sit and set the questions? But now it's easy. I will prepare the questions with the help of AI, and then I will validate. It's going to reduce my time, honestly. And then also we have to understand this is really going to save our time, and also creating the repetitive documentation will be reduced, and draft preparation time is going to be reduced, and more time for research, mentorship, innovations, I can utilize my time. So this is what this AI is going to impact on the faculty workload. And coming to the third stopping for my roadmap is ethical framework. So I will discuss about the ethical framework, because when you are using the when you are using the AI, we have to consider why this ethic is central. Because in education, we have to be, because we are dealing with the human being. In nursing professional, we are dealing with the human beings. We are dealing with the patient. So we have to always consider the patient safety. So we cannot blindly depend on the AI. Whatever the AI is saying, we cannot follow it. We have to consider our patient safety is must. It's very important. And also we have to have the professional accountability. If any error happened, we cannot blame AI is told like that. I did because of the AI. You cannot say it. Everybody should have a professional accountability, and we have to have our evidence-based practice. And also AI must always align with these principles, definitely. So major ethical concerns here. First of all, we should know about what is academic dishonesty. So academic dishonesty and over-reliance also, it's not good. And data privacy, we should follow all the times the data privacy. We cannot share anything with anyone. And we cannot, someone information, you cannot put it in the AI and ask the details, because you know that AI will capture, or it will store all the information, whatever we are giving it. So when you want to make data privacy, you have to be very careful, and you have to be free from bias, and also professional identity erosion should be followed. So remember the cases in Italy where they have used AI tools and temporarily restricted due to the privacy concern. So the country is completely banned now. So it should not be happen. Actually, we have to utilize the AI freely, but at the same time, we have to follow the ethical concerns. So now we have to come with the, I wanted to talk about some little example, little thing. Actually, a medical intern used AI draft for the discharge instructions. So now AI suggested medication dose slightly outside the standard or the guidelines. Now what the intern did, just the intern copied all these without verification and followed. Good thing the supervisor identified what the mistake had happened. So AI is actually, it is probabilistic, like it is not authoritative. So we cannot completely rely on whatever the AI is saying that. So now we have to trust, but at the same time, we need to verify. This is most important. So now coming to the previous slide, ma'am, coming to the academic integrity in the AI era, we have to know about two things. One is the old model. So the old model, what we did in the past academics, we usually will ask students to submit the assignment. Along with that, we will always check the plagiarism detection. If they copied from the internet source like that, this is the old version. Have to go with the new model in the new era. the integrity requires new approach assessment redesign. So instead of asking, did the students copy, we must ask, can the student think? For example, traditionally we might assign some essay or something, but today we have to ask the students to generate the essay using the AA, but rather than banning it. So we have to make the students, yes, you can take a AA draft, but you have to provide your critical thinking. That is what every assignment now we are giving some reflection. At the end of the assignment, we will give the reflection. So the students should write their own opinion, whether the AA draft is correct or any modification needed. Critically, they have to know how to analyze it. This is very important. This is really needed in the academic integrity. Now going into AA transparency policy, here it requests a lot of things. So here in the transparency policy, every educational institution to have this AA transparency policy. So here we are beginning tools is unrealistic. So sometimes we are following anything saying by AA following blindly, it's going to be really dangerous. So that's what we need, a clear AA transparency policy that should be built on 3 requirements. One is AA must use declaration, AA use declaration. So student must clearly state that if and how AI was used, whether it is for brainstorming or drafting or summarizing or editing. So this transparency really going to build a trust. Second thing is reflective explanation. How are you going to make the reflective explanation? So students will explain what AA is produced, what they accepted, what they be rejected, and what surprised them. So this shift focus on productive thinking. So they will enhance their thinking power. And third thing is going to be a justification of modifications. So students must justify the changes they made. For example, AA suggested this, but I didn't follow that because I know that if the AA, as per AA, if I did, the patient condition is going to be deteriorate. So I wanted to make modification in my intervention, in my recommendation, like that. So this is going to work out very well for the students' thinking capacity. Also, we have to understand in the ethical part, protecting the patient data. So never allow uploading any identifiable patient data because sharing clinical documentation is not ideal. It's not good. So violating confidentiality standards is going with. So now we have to be very clearly make the students to understand how they have to protect the patient data when they are using the AA. And next slide, ma'am. Also, we have to know about algorithmic bias. What kind of AA may cause this algorithmic bias means? It's going to reflect the training the data bias. And training the data bias means if historically healthcare data underrepresent the certain population, so the AA produced some skewed risk assessment. So this is really incomplete and clinical recommendations. And second thing is produce culturally insensitivity outputs. So here we have to be very clear because some of the places the cultural sensitivity issues is very, very dangerous. For example, generating the patient education advice that ignores the cultural beliefs. Okay, if I am living in Saudi Arabia, here a lot of cultural sensitivity issues are there, cultural restrictions are there. We have to follow that. Otherwise, it's going to make a big problem. And also bias detection. So we have to know that how we have to identify the bias. For example, students should ask question, is this evidence-based? Is this stereotyping or these contextual factors are missing? So in the AA era, digital literacy is not alone enough. So the student must develop this algorithmic literacy as well. Now coming to the institutional AA policy framework, so that must include definitely there should be acceptable use guidelines and faculty responsibilities and student disclosure requirements and data protection standards and also the review committee. All those things are to be included in the institutional policy as a framework. Next, ma'am. So now going with the fourth topic in my session is about curriculum innovation strategy. So here we have to know that, next slide, ma'am. Next slide. Next. Yeah, curriculum innovation strategy. So here institutional readiness assessment, first of all, we have to check. So before going to integrate the AA into the curriculum, we must ask one critical question. Is our institution truly ready to adopt? First, infrastructure readiness, because every institution must have adequate internet facility. every institution should provide feasible for the students. Every institution should provide, allow the student to utilize the gadgets, because some of the Indian colleges, I know that they will never allow the students to use the mobile phone or tablet or whatever. But some of the institution, definitely they will ask them to utilize it. So now we have to understand, when we are going to integrate this AA into the curriculum, we must know whether the institution truly ready for it and approve this AA platform, and how they are going to utilize it in a way, how the students are going to be digitally literate. So these are the things we have to know it. And also here we have to understand the student preparedness as well, because when we are asking the students to do it, they have to know about it. So the digital literacy as well as the AA literacy to be incorporated into their education system. And also they have to have a policy maturity. Every organization should make a policy maturity. So now how are you going to make redesigning the teaching method? So now, before we know that these are the teaching strategy we are following, like lecture method, discussion method, case scenario, blah, 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 blah. But now we need to redesign our teaching methods. So AA augmented case-based learning should be implemented. So here the student must generate AA-based differential diagnosis. They will be allowed to compare the clinical guidelines, and they have to justify the modification. And also AA in simulation. So every nursing laboratory should have a simulation, like high fidelity, low fidelity, or mid-level fidelity mannequins they have. So now the AA simulation to be incorporated, and dynamic patient vitals generated in real time, and variable lab reports, and ethical dilemma scenarios to be enhanced. And also AA enhanced reflective practice. So students must disclose. This is what I told you already. So now we started to enclose this information. So every assignment, the student put the reflection at the end. So that student should reflect how I have been utilized, how AA was used in my assignment, and whether I am going to accept this content or I am going to reject this content. What are the changes I can make it in the recommendation? All these things to be included. Next, reform assessment strategy. So reform assessment strategy, AA is forcing the assessment redesigning, and we are moving towards oral case defense. Like when we are conducting Viva, we have to utilize it. OSCE based reasoning skills, we can utilize it. In classroom scenario analysis also we can use, and reflective clinical judgment justification also we can use this AA. Next, we are going with the faculty capacity building, because the faculty are the one educators, and they are going to give the awareness, and they are going to educate the students as well. So now the faculty must be well versed in this. She has to, because I am very old person, I don't know anything about AA. We cannot say like this in this scenario, because we always go with flow. We have to gel with our trend. So now we should know what AA competency workshop, if there is anything, we have to attend. For example, now the conference is made me to explain some content about this AA importance. So this is what. So everywhere, when they have their workshop or conference or anything, the faculty should attend, and they have to make their capacity building. And prompt engineering labs also available. So they have to use it, how to utilize it. And ethical AA policy training also they have to attend. And also peer AA mentoring groups. So within the institution, they can make mentoring groups also. So side by side, they have to improve their capacity. Next slide, ma'am. So the phased implementation model, I think, yeah, here. The phased implementation model, there are 4 phases given. First phase is about awareness. So here the seminar or faculty orientations can be conducted. And second phase is pilot courses. Like we have to know the AA in 2 to 3 selected nursing subjects. And the third phase will be evaluation. And here in evaluation, we have to measure impact on critical thinking, academic integrity, faculty workload, student confidence. And the fourth phase will be full integration. So here scale across the curriculum. So the future graduate profile, next. The future graduate profile, now we have to make the students to include, because if we are submitting our profile, it will be something different without a implementation. But now the future graduate profile must include, these are the informations. So how, previous slide, ma'am, future graduate profile. Yeah. So this, they have to mention how the how the particular person is AA competent, and whether they are ethically grounded, and whether they know how to critically analysis. They can do critical analysis, and also digitally fluency. So all these informations to be added in their biodata. Sorry. The risk of inaction. So what is risk of inaction? If we graduate students who trust the AA blindly, there is a lot of risk, and creating professionals who follow the algorithms without questioning them and who accept the output without verification, it may compromise safety definitely. So that is what now, this is going to be both extreme dangerous. So healthcare today require balance. So we need the graduate who can question the AA, they have to validate it, and they have to supervise it, and they have to use it responsibly. No blind trust, no complete rejection, but informed ethical partnership. So this is what this balance is going to make a true goal of modern nursing education. So what is the balanced integration model saying about? So human intelligence plus artificial intelligence is equal to augmented intelligence, which means artificial intelligence can analyze the massive data from within a second, but it can generate patterns, summarize evidence, simulate scenarios, a lot of things it can produce. But as a human, we are ethically accountable, and we have to know that how are we going to have this with the patient side, and also the human intelligence will have the compassion. So now we need both. Human intelligence also needed, artificial intelligence also needed. So we cannot reject anything. So now the strategic question is, should we allow AI? Or the question is, how do we shape it? Responsibility for the patient safety. This is the two questions I put it here. So we have to know that now. We have to know, actually we have to ask, how do we shape a responsibility for the patient safety? Next slide. So call to an action. So we have to redesign the curriculum, and we need to train the faculty, whoever, old faculty or new faculty, doesn't matter. Everybody should train and embed with ethics, and also we have to lead responsibly. So the final reflection, actually before ending with, I wanted to say a small story again. So in olden days, when the calculators were introduced, people were afraid whether we can allow them to use the calculators. They will forget about the maths, something like that. We were worried. But now in our dosage calculation examination, we are allowing our students to utilize the calculator. It's okay, no problem. But for that reason, we cannot say that they forgot the maths. So always we have to allow them to utilize the, according to the trend, we have to utilize the availability sources. So AA will not replace educators. So educators who understand AA will redefine the education. This is what we have to know, that as being an educator. So this is my final reflection, and here I have given some of the references. And thank you so much for your patient listening in the early morning. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for this lovely session. That it was the new topic for most of the person, even for me also. So you have explained each and everything very nicely. So if anyone is having any questions with ma'am, they can proceed.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words.
You're most welcome, ma'am. I think they have understood each and everything. So we will move up to the next speaker. And the next speaker is Dr. Sukhpal Kaur, ma'am. So I will introduce ma'am once to everyone. Sukhpal, ma'am, are you available there?
Yes, I'm here.
A very good afternoon, ma'am.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing good, ma'am.
Yeah. Good morning.
Yeah, and sorry that early morning I pinged you for this process.
No, it's okay. It's my pleasure to be part of any of the educational activity. Thank you.
You're most welcome, ma'am. I will.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, let me clear about ma'am. that ma'am, she is working in PGI in Chandigarh. So, ma'am, so shall I share your PPT over there if you're willing, or share
No, I'll
like you
share
will share?
myself. I will share.
Okay, you will share your
You-
own screen. Okay, no problem for that, ma'am. So you can
Yeah.
proceed, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Make me the co-host. So far, I'm not the co-host.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, you just check it now. Yes. Yes, ma'am, you can continue.
No, so far I am not.
So far you're not, ma'am, you just try it once again.
No, it is not clickable. The share button, it is not.
Yes, ma'am.
Just try once more.
Yes, ma'am. Are you able to share the screen, ma'am?
No. You have to make me co-host.
Yes, ma'am. You just check it, ma'am. We did it, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Are my slides visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so a very good morning to each one of you, and thanks to all the organizers for having me here. Before I start my topic, let us start with a think box. You have to think, all the participants, my dear participants, just think what I'm going to say about this, that I need to teach infection prevention bundles in critical care students. Which method do you think is the best to teach the same to the students? Just think about this. Probably it is the lecture method, it's a question mark, or giving a handout to them and asking them to read and understand the components, or by explaining the various components of the protocols. Whenever we want to teach anything to our students, we always make various kinds of strategies, various kind of teaching methods as per the kind of the topic we want to explain to the students. So it can be demonstration, it can be lecture method, it can be lecture cum discussion. So each and every method, they have got their own limitations, they have their own benefits. So broadly speaking, if we are just going for the lecture method, which section of the Bloom's taxonomy is being stimulated here by using the above mentioned method? That was probably the lecture method. So it will be the lower method, which involves just remembering and understanding the things.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt. We are not able to see your PPT, ma'am.
But my PPTs are clear from my side.
No, ma'am, we are not able to see it.
Should I stop and share again?
Yes, ma'am. Again, yes, you just stop and share it again, ma'am.
Okay, I will do that. Is it okay now?
Yes, ma'am. Now it's okay.
Fine. So probably not from the beginning, you were not able to see. So we started with the think box, wherein I just discussed that I need to teach infection prevention bundles in critical care to the students. Which method do you think is the best to teach the students the same? Is it the lecture method, or to give handout to them and asking them to read and understand the components, or by explaining the various components of the protocols? So I was just saying that whenever we want to teach anything to the students, we always make use of various kinds of methods, various kinds of teaching strategies as per the kind of topic we want to teach to our students. So broadly speaking, which section of the, if we are making use of the lecture method or lecture come discussion, so you can just think that which section of the Bloom's taxonomy is being stimulated here by using the above mentioned method, that is the lecture come discussion method. So it is always the lower section of the, this is the Bloom's taxonomy. I think all of you are from education side and might be aware of this pyramid of Bloom's taxonomy, and wherein we prepare it as per the kind of objectives to be covered in the topic. So if we are just making use of the lecture method, so the lowermost portion of this pyramid we will be making use of in the lecture come discussion method, wherein it's just remembering the things we are teach the students, they remember and they are able to recall, or they are able to enlist the things which we have discussed in the lecture method. But we aim to reach the higher level of taxonomy, wherein the students have to understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and critical think. So we have to prepare the students wherein we have to make their upper level of Bloom's taxonomy as far as possible. It is not only remembering the things or understanding the things, whatever things they are able to understand, ultimately it should be in such a way that they are able to apply, they are able to analyze, they are able to evaluate, and ultimately they are able to make use of that particular thing in the clinical settings. Because ultimate aim in nursing education is the quality care which we expect from the students in the clinical settings. So we have to prepare our students accordingly. So that was about the lecture method. Now, let us consider some other way to make the same learning objective more fruitful. Here, the teacher divides the students in 3 groups and asks them to visit the patient with the urinary catheter, the patient who is on central line, and a patient who is on ventilator. So we are giving 3 conditions to the students, and we are asking the students to go to the clinical area wherein a patient is having a urinary catheter, a patient is on central line, and a patient is on ventilator. So the teacher gives the groups tasks in 3 structured sections. These were the 3 structured sections. And she asks the students to go to the clinical area and observe the patient and bring the bundle checklist documentation. Okay. And also to short interview to the concerned nursing officer taking care of the patient. So this is the as such assignment we give to the students and ask them to go to the clinical area and bring the answer to these 2 questions. So ask them to present the bundle checklist and their experiences in 5 minutes each. For any additional significant observation, we can give extra marks. So here we have 3 groups. One was the WAP group, second was the CLAPSI group, and third one was the COTI group. And we need to provide ratings and input at each step and finally summarize the key points. So students brought the informations about all the 3 conditions and they presented to the teachers, and then the teacher evaluated all the 3 groups. And she gave stars. For example, the students in the WAP group, they had seen the document, what kind of documentations were there, and they also brought certain experiences, but it was not up to the mark. So she gave 3 stars to the students. The CLAPSI group was further poor, and she gave 2 stars to the students. However, the COTI group, they brought very good information, very good documentation, and she gave 4 stars to the students. So COTI group was the number 1 group, and this group was declared as the winner group. So which method is engaging the students more? Which method will stimulate their high cognitive levels? Which method has more impact on gaining skills along with the theoretical concepts? Definitely it is the second method, because here we made the students to go to the clinical settings, to work, to think out of their box, to have the clinical experience, to have the first-hand information. So their power of analyzing the situation was better as compared to the one wherein we just teach the students and ask them to remember the things. So second method, which is nothing but an outcome-based learning or innovative, wherein they have made use of the innovative teaching methodology, combining various kind of strategies, including the case-based learning, experiential learning, and finally, it was the gamification, wherein the teacher assigned stars and scores to the team. So this is what is the outcome-based curriculum reforms, which is the talk of today, that we have to focus not only providing the theoretical knowledge to the students, we have to have a curriculum wherein we are focusing more on the outcome-based reforms in the education. We know that education is a very, very important aspect of our lives. It is the key to the personal and the professional growth and development. And we also understand that the traditional approach to education has always been focusing on more on the academic part, giving certain grades to students, but it was often neglecting the other aspects, which include the emotional, physical, and the spiritual aspect of an individual's well-being. And we also know that there is a shift from the traditional to the modular teaching methods with a focus more on the competence-based education, wherein the main aim of having the competency-based approach is achieving the outcomes, which is linked to the clinical knowledge, which is linked to the technical competency of an individuals, and also the clinical judgment, improving the clinical judgment of the students. And various recommendations have been given by the National Health Policy as well as the National Education Policy. And based on that, there is a revision in the curriculum given by the Indian Nursing Council, which is a statutory body of ours. And with the new curriculum, which has come up in BSc Nursing 4-year, and we have also implemented that curriculum, we try to produce the knowledgeable, competent nurses and midwives with clear critical thinking skills, responding to the changing needs of the profession, the healthcare delivery system, and the society at large. So it's very, very important, taking into consideration the needs of the society, to develop the competencies in our students in an artificial environment by practicing multiple times and becoming more confident before entering into the real field of the clinical practice. Now let's see what is the outcome-based education. It is also shortly known by the abbreviation OBE. So it's a learner-centered approach that focuses on clearly defined learning outcomes. That means what the students are expected to know, to do, and value at the end of the course or the program. And in higher education, outcome-based curriculum reforms aim to shift from content-driven teaching to competency-driven learning aligned with the societal and the professional needs. And here in the outcome-based education, we always make use of various kind of innovative methodologies, which are learner-centered. This is important to understand that these are always the learner-centered, the student-centered approaches that actively involve students in constructing knowledge, developing skills, and applying learning to real-life situation, rather than just listening to the lectures and understanding the things. In outcome-based education, we always make use of various kind of innovative teaching strategies. Let's see the overall overview of the various outcome-based education involving the innovative teaching strategies. That these strategies, they are always the student-centered, and the teacher acts as a facilitator, empowering the students to just lead in that particular situation. It is always active learning from students' point of view, because students are directly involved in learning the things and understanding the things. So there is always an active learning from students' point of view, because they actively participate through discussion and practice session. There's always a constructivism, because learners build knowledge based on the prior experiences. We always make the students with different innovative methodology I'll be discussing in the subsequent slides. We always try to make the students learn, to make the students understand before they really come into the real situation or in the classroom. So they always come prepared before they discuss the things with their teachers. So there is always a collaboration amongst the students, as well as the students, they work together. Some of the strategies, we always motivate the students to work alone. In some, we always motivate the students to work together in groups, in team, along with their mentor or the teachers. There is always a contextual learning, because here the real life problems and the simulation enhances understanding. So there is more of the contextual learning from students' point of view. Side by side, it also involves the reflection, because the students, they self-assess themselves, as well as they receive the feedback from their mentor or from the teachers immediately, that you are wrong here, you are right here, so that they're able to we are able to correct the students at the same time, and they do not repeat such kind of mistakes once they start working in the real life situations in the clinical settings. And on the top of that, there is always a continuous assessment, because the student, there is always an ongoing evaluation which provide timely feedback to the students. So these are the certain innovative teaching strategies which involve the outcome-based education. Now, there are a number of teaching learning strategies and assessment. Let's see what are they in the outcome-based education program. In the next slides, I'll be talking. There are a number of innovative teaching strategies in the classroom as well as in the clinical settings, but I am going to discuss them separately, but just a few because of the scarcity of time. On certain important strategies I will be discussing. So if we talk of the classroom teaching strategies, the innovative teaching strategies, these are the number of strategies wherein we can always make use of the flipped classroom. This also involves the project-based learning, project-based, problem-based learning, peer instruction or teaching, team-based learning, concept mapping and mind mapping, gamification, e-learning, blended or e-learning, role play, and the music integrations. So let's see in brief just about the few of the teaching strategies in the classroom. One of the most common strategy which usually we apply nowadays to have more learning from students' point of view is the flipped classroom. Here, what we do, the students learn the basic content before the class. We always give them certain videos, we always give them certain handouts before discussing a particular topic in the classroom. So the class time is used for the discussion to solve the problems if the students face. They come prepared with that particular topic. So they always have basic understanding about that particular topic. And whatever problems they have, they didn't understand, we discuss in the classroom. And what application can be there, how we can solve the problems, and all the doubts are taken in the classroom itself. So there's always a better learning from the students' point of view, because the students come prepared with their doubts, and we try to solve those doubts. We try to solve the problems of the students. So it promotes active learning and higher order thinking. It improves the engagement and allows more teacher-student interaction, because they sit in the classroom, they discuss the problems with one another, so there is a more of interaction between the student as well as in the teacher. So benefit here, it will enhance the critical thinking. There will be active participation of the students. Like, for example, you can just take an example of the hypertension. You want to teach hypertension to the students. So before the class, the students watch a video on definition, causes, or classification. It's not only video, we can always give them certain handouts, certain articles can be given to them. And in the class, what we do, we analyze a patient case. We ask the student that these are the symptoms a patient is experiencing of hypertension, how to manage that. And we always ask them to plan nursing interventions for the patient, discuss the lifestyle modification and counseling. Similarly, we can prepare certain pharmacological videos before the class, and the students practice regarding that drug calculation during the session. So it can be any topic. The main thing is here that we are asking the students to come prepared before entering into the class. Similarly, we have another important strategy, that is the project-based learning. It is also an approach which aims to solve the problems via individuals or small groups, making the students active rather than passive, investigating, assessing information, and using it to solve the problems. So the core features of problem-based learning, this is also called PBL. It is based on a real-life problem or a question. Students work individually or they work in groups. It involves planning on a particular project, doing certain research, review of literature, then executing, and ultimately presenting to the class or presenting to their mentor. It always integrates theory with the practice. So ultimately, the end product of PBL is we always come out with a product or an output in the form of a report or in the form of preparing a certain model, poster, certain app, certain care plan, as well as certain campaign. Just to understand it better, these are the steps which are involved in PBL. That first we need to understand the problem or question, then planning the project, collecting the data or doing certain research, executing or implementation based on the findings, and presentation of the results, and evaluation and reflection. So here the role of the teacher acts as a facilitator or mentor. They provide guidance and feedback to the students wherever they are right and wherever they are wrong. So immediately feedback is to be given to the students. The teachers monitor the progress of the students or the team, and the teacher assesses both the process as well as the outcome, how the students went through all of the process to solve that particular problem, and ultimately what was the outcome. And the role of the student is they are the active learner. They need to collaborate with the peers because they always work in the team, and they take responsibility for learning, and as well as they apply knowledge to the real situation. We can take it in the form of an example. For example, the student want to do a project on prevention of diabetes mellitus. So the student design a community awareness program on diabetes prevention. What activities are to be involved in this particular project is they need to first review the literature on the risk factors. They need to prepare the IEC material. They need to conduct health education sessions in the community. And also after conducting the health education sessions, they need to evaluate from the community feedback, from the people point of view, how did they like the education, and submitting the project report to their mentor. So similarly, we can have number of projects, small projects, wherein the students can be asked to work on that particular project and then to submit the report to their mentor. Similarly, we have advantages of project-based learning include it will enhance the critical thinking as well as the problem solving. It promotes the teamwork and communication amongst the students. It encourages the self-directed learning. It improves the clinical and research skill, and also bridges the theory as well as the gap. However, theory and practice gap. However, there could be certain limitations. It is always time consuming because they have first to identify the problem and then to work on that project, implement, execute that project, and then to prepare the report. So it always needs a careful planning from students' point of view. Now, it is also difficult to access the individual contribution. This is a major drawback of the students working in a group or in a team, and it always required a trained faculty. The faculty or the mentor should also be trained in that particular topic. So if we talk of the, if we want to link it with the Bloom's taxonomy, the project-based learning, it mainly addresses the higher cognitive level, which include applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating that pyramid, which I gave in the beginning. So here, having such kind of teaching method, we always touch the top of that pyramid. So it's very, very important, very important to understand the individuals. So it's really enhances the growth of the students having such kind of teaching methodologies. Similarly, we have another method which include the peer instruction or teaching. From the name itself, it should be clear that the students, they again work with one another. They discuss the concepts with their classmates. They explain their reasoning to one another. Each one of them, they correct misunderstanding collaboratively, and the teacher acts as a facilitator and not the main lecturer. For example, you can take the example of a hand hygiene. A student demonstrates the steps of hand washing. The peers observe and give feedback. Another student explains indications for the hand hygiene. Teacher supervises and track the errors. So all this will lead to the, they works very, these kind of, peer instruction or the peer teaching, they work very well in the clinical skills, enhancing the clinical skills, communication skills, as well as the concepts. Advantages will include improving the concept clarity, building confidence and communication skill. It always encourages the active participation of the students. It reduces the fear of asking the questions because they are very comfortable when the students of the same level, they work together, they teach to one another. It's a very, there is a reduction of the fear, and once they independently work in front of the teacher or in the clinical situation, they are able to perform better. So it promotes a collaborative learning. Limitation, of course, certain limitations are there. There is a risk of incorrect information because students are of the same level. So both the students should be very well versed with that particular topic. But if both of them are not able to understand the correct information about that particular topic. So incorrect information can be there in both the students. Unequal participation can be there, and it requires careful planning as well as the monitoring. So here the Bloom's taxonomy, if we talk, we are touching the understanding level, applying wherein, because we are we are including the demonstration skill also, as well as analyzing the situation. We have concept mapping and mind map mapping, which include the visual strategy to organize and connect the concepts from the topic. It helps the students see the relationship from cause to effect, sign and symptoms, diagnosis and care. So here the focus is how the concepts are related to one another. So it improves the understanding, critical thinking and recall, and it is useful for planning the care as well as understanding the concept topics. For example, it can be shock, it can diabetes, cancer care, any of the topic might be little difficult. So it can be done individually or in group, assessing using a rubric. Example, for example, you can take the example of a heart failure. The central concept is heart failure. We can always link the causes to the symptoms, to the investigation, management, and ultimately to the nursing care. So linking words will include, it will lead to, it will result in, it is managed by. So the uses will include the teaching complex topics. It's very, very important strategy of learning. So it helps in clinical reasoning from students' point of view, planning the care, as well as evaluation the students' understanding. Gamification is another very, very important methodology, the teaching strategy which has come up, and it really helps the students to understand the concept in a better way. So gaming and gaming strategy, these can be used in the classroom as well as they can be used in the clinical settings. It is a training method wherein the trainer applies the concepts and principle of different games in the training, and they also make use of training. Whenever we are making use of gamification, the students are more engaged as well as they are more stimulated, because these games can be based on certain quizzes instead of just making use of simple MCQs, puzzles, word searches, etc. And we can always make use of various game elements. For example, we can give more points to the person who is performing better. We can give different kind of badges as per the performance level of the students, different levels, leaderboards. Usually it is there in the classroom wherein we can put 1 star, 2 star. So accordingly, they will be having more motivation to work positively. However, certain challenges can also be given to the students, and if they're able to come out of that challenge, then that is also one of the games wherein we can evaluate the students, and immediate feedback is given to the students, and they are able to learn and understand that where they were wrong. So it increases the motivation and attention during revision or practice session. It encourages the teamwork, quick recall, and safe decision making. And it is also best when it is linked clearly to the learning outcomes and the feedback. For example, in the infection control campaign, champions, this badge can be given to a group of the people, to the students who are performing better in the clinical settings, and they are making use of all the infection control strategies. It can be given to the students who score more than 80% in hand hygiene quiz. So on number of topics, we can prepare the gamified quiz, like it can be cardiovascular diseases. The tool can be Kahoot. So the correct answer points can be given, fastest response bonus point can be given, top 3 small rewards can be given. So similarly, we can have the clinical case as the game. For example, if a patient with stroke, the students who are able to identify the symptoms, they can earn the points. Who are able to prioritize the nursing care, they can be promoted to the next level, and the students who are able to manage the complication, they can be given the final badge. Similarly, these games can be used for the patients, even if, like you are asking the patients to improve the adherence to the blood sugar level. So we can give if the patients are able to adhere to 7 days blood sugar, they are entering in a log file, some badge can be given. Similarly, they can earn the rewards if they are monthly able to achieve their targets. So such type of games we can always make use for our patients as well as for our students. If a topic is too big, we can always divide it in teaching small groups. Micro learning can be promoted to the students so they are able to understand more instead of giving a bulk of things which might be difficult for them to understand. For example, it can be 3-minute video on the steps of hand washing, 5 questions quiz on drug doses calculation, infographics on signs of hypoglycemia, or short audio on S-bar communication. Role play debate, I think this is another methodology we always make use of in our day-to-day life. Specifically, once we want to teach certain ethical points to students, how to take consent from the patients, breaking the bad news, how to consult the patients. So it will definitely help in building the confidence of the students in speaking and listening, as well as respectful disagreement. Music integration is another important thing wherein we can increase the understanding level of the students. So we can always add music which can aid in learning. It can improve the memory and engagement, and songs can also be given to the students which can help them in remembering the procedure. I will just show you one video in the next slide, which was prepared by one of our students. It is very interesting. I just wanted to share. You can see here. So here you must have seen that how to identify the symptoms of stroke. This was the video prepared by one of our intern. So similarly, to understand any of the complex topic, we can always make use of various kind of innovative techniques. We can always involve music in teaching the students. There will be better learning and better outcome based teaching will be there. So this was in short about the classroom. Let us see in the next few slides about the clinical or the skills innovative teaching in the outcome based education. There are a number of teaching strategies which we can always make use of in clinical settings, which involve the simulation based learning, OSCE skill station, deliberate practice and mastery learning, bedside teaching with 1-minute preceptorship, mini CX or DOPS, shadowing and guided reflection, clinical case presentation, case-based learning, interprofessional education, VR and AR, mobile learning at the bedside, which the previous speaker was talking about, and peer teaching in the clinical. Just in short about the few of the clinical teaching I'll be discussing. We know that the outcomes are the product of educational efforts, the behavior, characteristics, qualities, or the attributes that learner display at the end of an educational program. And teachers are responsible for specifying outcomes of nursing education programs that are congruent with the current and future needs of the society, changes in the healthcare delivery system, demographic trends and technological advances, and developments in the higher education. It will definitely influence the competencies which are needed for the professional nursing practice. And planning for the clinical teaching should always begin with identifying the learning outcomes that are necessary for the safe and competent nursing practice. And what are the various intended outcome of clinical teachings are? These are the cognitive domains. We need to have the affective domains as well as the psychomotor domains. Talking about the cognitive domain outcomes in the clinical teaching, it should involve the clinical reasoning from the student's point of view. They should be able to have the clinical decision-making skills, clinical judgment skills we need to improve, critical thinking skills we need to improve, as well as the problem-solving approach. So whatever strategy we are making use of, All these cognitive domains we need to keep in mind. From psychomotor domains point of view, these involve the psychomotor skills, the interpersonal skills, as well as the organizational skills. And from the affective domains, these involves the humanistic and ethical dimensions of nursing, the moral reasoning, the value clarification, and the value inquiry. So all these domains we have to take into consideration when we are talking about the clinical teaching. So talking about the simulation-based learning, we know that simulation-based learning is a form of experiential learning where learners are asked to solve the complex problems in the controlled environment through replicated real-life scenarios. So it facilitates the skills which the students learn in a very, very safe, efficient, qualified, and interactive method through immersion, reflection, feedback, and practice without any risk to the patients or the healthcare professionals. So it's a very, very simple and artificial representation of the real world of the patient's experiences. It is based on the fact that I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, and I do, I understand. This the simulation-based learning is based on this concept because the students, they do with their own hands before they are asked to give their services or to take care of the patients in the real life situation. So we are making use of various kinds of mannequins, which are the high fidelity mannequins, which are the low fidelity mannequins, or which mimic the real situations. We also have the partial task simulators. If we don't have any of the various levels of simulators, we can always make use of the standardized patient. He or she is nothing but the volunteers who play the role of the patients. So these are the high fidelity mannequins, very, very costly, and it may not be possible for all the institutions to afford such kind of high fidelity mannequins in their institutions because they are completely computer controlled full body mannequins. They most closely replicate the responses, physiology, anatomy of the patients. So once we are working on the high fidelity mannequins, it seems that we are really working in the real situation. We are really working in the really working with the patients, but definitely they are responding as per the patients, but we are in the artificial environment. So it's one of the most expensive. Low fidelity mannequins, these include the two-dimensional displays, which are static models or the partial task simulators. They are the least real type of simulations. They can help the students build knowledge because they allow the students to go at their own pace. They can also help the students learn a specific skill such as cardiopulmonary resuscitation as well as the intravenous insertions. The partial task simulators, these are the body parts, such as it can be an arm, it can be a head, that allow the nursing students to practice a skill many times without causing any wear and tear or using more expensive equipments. So the low fidelity and the partial task simulators, I think they are most affordable, and majority of the labs, majority of the nursing labs, nursing colleges, they're able to afford, and really it helps the students to gain skills before they start practicing in the real life situation in the hospital. So benefit of simulation include it bridges the gap between the theory and practice. It provides an opportunity to the trainee for rehearsal and practice before starting in the clinical settings. It also facilitates an effective feedback to the students to improve their knowledge and skill. It provides a relaxed and safe environment. They can work in a very, very relaxed and safe environment. It provides a suitable atmosphere psychological to the patients to make the mistakes and correction during the training. Healthcare cost reduction by improving the patient care, and it is effective to practice the social skills of teaching such as counseling, professionalism, leadership, teamwork, communication skills for the students. It also gives the chance for the trainee to assess his or her ability and measure his or her own progress. Another important tool which really helps in gaining good outcome curriculum involves the OSCE and the skill stations, which are nothing but the objective structured method with multiple stations and time limits. And the students perform various kinds of skills, including cannulation, wound dressing, injection, BP recording, assessment of the patients, and number of other skills can be assessed during the OSCE. So various kinds of stations we have, and these number of stations, it depends upon our outcome, what exactly we want from students' point of view. Another is the deliberate practice and mastery learning, where the students repeat a skill until competency is achieved, not just once. It uses step-by-step checklist, coaching, targeted feedback to the students. It also focuses on correcting the errors immediately and improving the performances. It ensures minimum standards for every learner, and it is highly effective for procedures and patient safety skills. These two are another assessment tools, which are the mini CX. This is the mini clinical evaluation exercises. DOPS is the directly observed procedure skill. So these are basically the tools for the direct observations of the real task in the clinical setting, in the clinical situations. So mini CX, it focuses on a clinical encounter. For example, a student is performing certain assessment. So the teacher or the mentor, they are having a checklist to assess that particular skills. And DOPS, it focuses on whole of the procedures. So the assessors or the mentors, they rate the performance using the tool or the checklist, and immediate feedback is given to the students, which help the learners to improve in the same moment. So it builds the competence, professionalism, as well as the safe practice. Case-based learning is nothing but it is an inquiry-based approach to learning nursing through the clinical case scenarios in a collaborative small group settings. So here the focus is not only on the knowledge acquisition, but also on the critical thinking, problem solving. They work in the team, as well as communication is enhanced, and there is always a lifelong learning. So virtual reality, this is something new which has come up. It is the use of the computer technology to create an interactive three-dimensional 3D world, which gives user a sense of spatial presence. In nursing education, VR has been used to help to optimize the teaching as well as the learning process. So interactivity, it is a key feature of the VR, which make it more effective than the video demonstrations. So it can be immersive as well as it can be non-immersive. And in immersive VR, it provides experiences where the user wears a headset and motion sensing gloves and loses all the senses of the real world in a place no bigger than a room. However, the non-immersive VR, it is a computer-generated, not fully interactive 3D environment in which the user uses a small keyboard, mouse, joystick, and haptic display to control as well as the navigate. This is VR are also available in many of the labs, and they really help the students to understand the situation. Understand the certain procedures also. So VR simulations, they boost the students' concentration, engagement, confidence, motivation, and creativity, and allow them to put theory into practice and learn at their own pace. It also provides them with the opportunity to practice whenever and how often they want in a safe and realistic environment without fear of making mistakes and harming the patients. And students participating in VR simulations, they are more likely to become comfortable, confident, and successful in real clinical settings because they learn in an applied format, but definitely it is costly. Similarly, we have augmented reality, which is AR. Number of anatomy apps of AR are available. Wherein here we are making use of augmented reality to project the 3D model of the human organs, tissues, and the systems into real space. So the students can rotate, they can zoom, and even walk around the anatomical structure in order to understand that anatomical structure in a better way. Benefits, definitely a number of benefits are there because it makes the complex anatomy easier to visualize than the flat textbook diagrams. It is safe, repeatable practice without needing cadavers or the expensive labs. And it is also interactive exploration, which improves the retention as well as the clinical reasoning of the students. Interprofessional education, this is another very, very important point to understand. It also helps in the outcome-based education. It is nothing but a model where the students from multiple healthcare professionals, they learn and work together. It is not only the nurses, their nursing students are working together or the medical. So if here we try to mix up the students, the paramedical, the nursing, as well as the medical. So they work together in certain on certain on certain projects, on certain topics, but because healthcare is a team approach, so there should not be segregation of one profession from the another professions. They should always be working as a team. Basically, the goal is to improve the collaboration and the quality of care, and IPE promotes the interprofessional cooperation between medical and nursing students, and it definitely enhances the mutual respect as well as the understanding. So this is in short about various innovative teaching strategies which we can make use in the classroom as well as in the clinical settings for the outcome-based educations. In the end, let us see what are the various benefits of OBE. There is always a clear learning expectations because students are very well aware that what is being expected from him or her at the end of the session, because we always define the specific measurable outcome for the students. Students understand what competencies they must achieve, and it also reduces the ambiguity in teaching and assessment. It is always a learner-centered approach. There is a shift from the teacher delivery to the student achievement. It encourages the active learning, self-directed learning, and critical thinking, and promotes accountability in the learners. There is an alignment of the teaching, learning, and assessment. So all the curriculum, the instructional strategies, and evaluation, they are always aligned with the predefined outcomes. So it ensures the coherence and transparency in the educational planning. It's a competency-based development because we focus on the development of the knowledge, the skill, the attitude, as well as the values. All the three domains we have to take into considerations. So we prepare the graduates for the real-world professional roles, particularly useful in the professional education in nursing, medication, as well as engineering. It improves the assessment practices because the assessment becomes more objective and performance-based, and making use of various rubrics, OSCE, portfolios, mini-CX, etc. They really help in assessing the students. It encourages the formative and the continuous evaluation. It enhances the employability. Definitely the graduates, they possess the clearly defined competencies. We align the curriculum with the industry as well as the societal needs, and we always try to bridge the gap between the academic preparation and the workforce expectations. We try to promote the quality assurance and accreditations because it will facilitate the benchmarking with the national and international standards. It is useful for accreditation, for the accreditation bodies like NAC and NBA. It encourages the reflective practice because students reflect on the achievement of the outcome, and faculty continuously revise the curriculum based on the outcome attainment data. And also there is a flexibility in the teaching method, and we always allow use of innovative teaching methodology, PBL, simulation-based, project-based learning, team-based learning, and many more. So to conclude my presentation, we understand that outcome-based curriculum reforms represent a paradigm shift from teacher-centered instructions to the learner-centered, competency-driven education. And when effectively implemented through constructive alignment, robust assessment system, and continuous quality improvement, OBE can enhance graduate preparedness, accountability, and the global competitiveness. So let us move forward to strengthen the nursing education. Happy learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this session, Sukhpal ma'am.
Thank you so much.
It is like, you have explained each and everything very nicely, like how we have to use the things and how we have to do. Because nowadays what we exactly face being as an educator or being as a professor in college, that students, they don't want to learn new things.
Yes,
they want to go with the old things only.
The students as well as the teachers, because of the
Yes.
scarcity of time, there were a number of things which I probably wanted to discuss, but because of the scarcity of time, it was not possible for me. There are a number of drawbacks even because we are very comfortable with the traditional lecture cum discussion method. So teachers also do not want to learn because all the new innovative teaching methodologies, they have to first learn themselves before implementing. And each new methodology takes a lot of time also. Resources also required. And many of the, especially government institutions, they may not be able to afford, like we talk of the high fidelity simulators, but definitely if we wish, nothing is impossible.
Yes, we can. Because nowadays what we like used to face, that if we will say this thing that we are planning for new things, or like we can conduct the CNA, all they used to say, why to do all those things? That is the waste of time and wastage of money. What I
Yeah,
have heard, like from many of the people while discussing these things and all, ma'am.
yeah.
But thanks a lot for this session.
Thank you very
Hope in
much.
future once again we will come together.
Thank you so
But
much.
that time we will be we will meet physically, ma'am. That at least we can be in front of you and we can learn many more things, as you are very senior to us.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
You're most
Narsha.
welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
So we will move up to the next speaker, as the next speaker is Leena, ma'am.
So I'm logging out. Huh?
Ma'am, no, I'll do. So let me introduce Leena, ma'am. Dr. Leena Casey, ma'am. She is a dean and principal in college, Constituent College of Yenapova, deemed to be university in Karnataka. As a research experience, she has successfully guided 6 PhD scholars, and successfully she has national consortium, RGUHS and Yenapova universities. And currently she is guiding 8 PhD students currently from RGUHS National Consortium and Yenapova, and as a teaching research methodology for PhD nursing student, postgraduate and undergraduate student. She is the reviewer for ICMR projects, and she is a chairperson of scientific review board at Yenapova Nursing College, and she has served in the past as the chairperson of IRC at Father Muller Nursing College. She has guided 22 PG students of RGUHS Bangalore, and even she has guided 20 UG research projects. Even she's providing research consultancy for PG and PhD students. So, Dr. Leena, ma'am, I would like to just be online and just thank you for being in the session. If you want, I will share your PPT over here.
Thank you for that introduction,
Yes,
Ms. Manisha. I'll be sharing the PowerPoint during the
okay, ma'am,
presentation.
fine. Okay, you can share it, ma'am, from your end.
Is the PowerPoint visible?
Yes, ma'am,
Thank you.
it's visible.
So I was attending some of the sessions that were held from yesterday, and I know that there was some discussion about research and how to put research into practice. Someone spoke about translational research as well. So to continue with how to put research into practice is what we are going to see today through a session on evidence-based practice. So the outline of my talk will be like this, basically about evidence-based practice and looking at what are the sources of evidence and what are the resources that we have, and how evidence-based practice can be used in the day-to-day practice in nursing, and how it is important for us to inculcate evidence-based inquiry among learners, so that through teaching we can bring about evidence-based practice as a whole in the profession and thereby improve the quality of healthcare service. So what is the need for evidence-based practice? The need is because there is explosion of knowledge. We know textbooks are there, and many of the textbooks are out of date. Rapidly, it is becoming out of date. Even when it is published, it would have the author would have started writing it few years ago, because the process of writing a textbook, it takes a lot of time. Experts could be wrong many times because the experts may not be able to keep in pace with the developments that are happening around us. There is also a possibility that people are attending conferences, workshops, but it may not be effective in changing practice because we do not know how much of it is going back to practice. And when we talk about nursing journals or medical journals, there are too many journals, too much variety of journals, and we do not know if they are peer-reviewed journals and if they are authentic journals. Many times, even seasoned researchers are fooled into going for predatory journals for their good research work that they have painstakingly completed. So we know that there is a lot of information overload. And the number of papers published are so many. And it's humanly impossible for you and me to keep up-to-date information about what is the latest that has happened in the field. And causes for information overload are that there are multiple sources of information, too much information, difficult to manage the information, sometimes irrelevant or unimportant information, and lack of time to understand the information. You think about the undergraduate student to people who have postdoctoral degrees. Everybody has some problem in handling information. So what is evidence-based practice? We want to do changes in the practice. So evidence-based practice is a problem-solving approach of delivery of care, where it is that we rely on the best evidence from well-designed studies and in combination with clinicians' expertise and patient preferences. And this is used in the context of caring. So it is integration of best research evidence along with clinical expertise and patient values, and that's helping us in making a decision. And the decision that is acceptable, that is of the best standard during the particular time. And talking about evidence-based practice, we need to think how these decisions are made and what are the best available research evidences and what is practitioners' expertise, what is the client's expectations, and using all of this, we make decisions. Although we see this depiction very simple, it is about how we make ourselves available the best evidence that is a matter to us. Evidence-based practice. There are outcomes of evidence-based practice. Basically, evidence-based practice is improving the outcome. Better patient healthcare results, improved cost effectiveness, overall quality of patient care is improving. It reduces variation because some sort of standardization is possible when we have available evidence that is made use, and it reduces inconsistencies in care between providers, and it is thereby bringing about standardization. Evidence-based practice also increases satisfaction because it's better aligned with patient care needs. You are thinking about patients' preferences. It is thinking about reducing the cost, and it is thinking about improving the quality of service. So thereby it increases satisfaction of the clients. It enhances autonomy because you don't need to depend on a superior or another healthcare provider to instruct you what to do when your client is suffering from a particular problem, because already evidence-based practice or practice guidelines are available. So therefore, there is satisfaction for the provider, and there is also a personalized approach that is available or provided for the individuals who are receiving the services. And finally, it formalizes best practice. Evidence-based practice is systematically applying research into day-to-day work. It limits the conflicting findings, and it's a data-driven approach because what you speak is to the data. So it is reducing translation time, as it was discussed yesterday. We want research to go from bench to bedside, and bench to bedside has been taking a lot of time, and with evidence-based practice approach that is followed systematically everywhere, it can reduce the translation time of research, whereby findings of research can be reaching to the bedside at the earliest. So when we talk about evidence-based practice, there is a concept evolution that has happened. Is evidence-based practice same as research utilization? Many times it is interchangeably used, but we must understand that research utilization is a basic term. It's a very primitive term that is used compared to evidence-based practice. What is research utilization? It's about using research findings. So I am a researcher. I do the research. In the process of doing research, the research is utilized. And after my completion of my work, maybe I'll start using that in my setting, in my neighborhood. That is how the concept evolved slowly. But we know that it is not correct for us to rely on findings of one research. That research may be done in the perfect way, or the research is not done in a perfect way. So as individuals, it is not encouraged that we use one isolated research that was conducted in my setting to start implementing. And evidence-based practice is a broad concept. It is very systematic. It is having rigorous methodology that is done, and it is data-driven, statistically tested. That's why we can say that it's evidence-based practice that stands the pressure or stands the test of time, so that it will continue to evolve the practices. So what are some of the ways of creating research evidence? Researchers know that, or somebody with basic idea of research methodology know that the best way to generate evidence could be either by creating evidence or generating evidence by doing independent studies, by doing new studies, or by doing primary research. I do research in order to create evidence, contribute to the knowledge of the profession. The second way to do is using evidence already generated by somebody and consolidating from the existing studies. Now, we shouldn't think that any research, the best way to do research is to have primary research. We know that using evidence that is already generated or consolidating from the existing studies is a cost-effective way, and it is a time-tested way of consolidating evidence, because we are not just depending on one research, one primary research. We are doing a series of steps in order to test and say whether this evidence is holding good or not. So this is done through systematic reviews and meta-analysis, and we will be seeing the details related to that in the subsequent slides. So when we talk about say consolidating evidence, we need to know what is a hierarchy of evidence. Many people have given the hierarchy of evidence. So what is at the base is more primitive compared to what is on the top. So we have descriptive studies at the bottom, we have analytical studies, randomized controlled trials, and on top of the hierarchy of evidence is systematic review and meta-analysis. Now, we must understand that systematic review and meta-analysis, so this is possible when you are thinking of generating data or using the data of the previous one, that is randomized controlled trials. That is the best way of getting evidence, and which is synthesized using systematic review and meta-analysis. However, it doesn't mean that we ignore descriptive studies, we ignore analytical studies. Each study has its own significance. It is depending on the purpose of research that we use a particular type of research methodology, including qualitative research or the mixed method research. We are not undervaluing what is happening. We But what we are trying to say is the best evidence is that which is generated out of multiple randomized control trials. So here is the levels of evidence. The best, the first level is the superior level, whereas the least level, the expert opinion, it may not have much value when it comes to the level of evidence because there is a possibility of bias. The amount of bias is high in the level 5 or level 4 compared to a level 1. So what is it that evidence-based practice has done in the past? And what is it doing now, every day? So here are some examples of how evidence-based practice have brought about changes in practice. In the traditional practice, what we were seeing was that people who had hypoxic drive, they were hypoxic drive, and they will also wipe out the drive to breathe. So why to give so much of oxygen? Let them also make an effort to breathe on their own. But the evidence says oxygen should be provided to prevent hypoxia and organ failure, because the minute you don't give enough oxygen, your muscles are strained and then the patient is becoming bad. So therefore, mechanical ventilation may be necessary to rest respiratory muscles instead of failing them by not giving mechanical ventilation. This is one good example of how evidence-based practice or how research-based information has brought about changes in the current practice. Look at impact of evidence on practice change when it comes to hormone therapies. Earlier, people were using hormone replacement therapies after menopause. And the studies show, or evidence-based studies or systematic reviews show that hormone therapy significantly increase the risk of venous thromboembolism or coronary events. So therefore, now it is not a standard practice to give hormone replacement therapy for women with perimenopausal or postmenopausal symptoms. Look at this study, magnesium sulfate. You may be wondering, why is magnesium sulfate the drug of choice for eclampsia? It is the finding of a study by Cochrane collaboration, which says that magnesium sulfate is significantly improving the outcome among women who have pregnancy-induced hypertension. So now look at how evidence-based practice or how systematic reviews are changing policies at the macro level, at the government level. See, World Health Organization systematic review of randomized controlled trials says something about routine antenatal care. We know in private practice, women go for antenatal checkups every month, and maybe last trimester they go twice a month or once a week in the last month. Is it necessary to have so many antenatal visits? Now, this systematic review said it's not necessary to have so many visits to an obstetrician. It's enough if you have fixed number of visits and what is to be done during each of the visits. And that will have as much as good outcome as that of somebody who is undergoing so many antenatal visits. So we know also of nurses used as substitutes for doctors in primary care. This is one of the evidence-based practices where during the Cochrane database systematic review, it was found that nurses can also be replaced as substitutes for doctors in primary care because they measure the outcomes and the systematic review found that it is a good option to do. And you think about any such interventions, there are enormous amount of systematic reviews available in databases which are freely available, which we can access, and we can develop our practice guidelines based on such systematic reviews. Now, ways of creating research evidence through primary research. And we know what are the steps that we follow when it is a quantitative research. We know what are the steps to be followed when it is a qualitative research, and how to do a mixed method research design. All of us may be following each of these series of steps in order to say that we complete a research work. Now, it is important for us to reflect what type of primary research contributes to practice change. Many nurses or many nursing scholars have done primary researches. Many PhD scholars have completed their research. Many PGs have completed their research. They were all good research work. Many were with good practice of research methodology done under the guidance of good mentors, knowledgeable mentors. How much of it has contributed to practice change is something that we need to ponder upon. So when we say we want practice change to happen, we need to take care of basic components of our research work. Because when we say practice change will happen, it means that such primary researchers should find a place in a systematic review or in a meta-analysis. And we know all researchers, all primary researchers are not finding a place in a systematic review. And if a study finds a place in a systematic review, it's a big achievement, because somehow somebody is looking at your finding to say, okay, this is something that is good. They have considered, they have checked what you have done. So therefore, these steps are very important. And especially it is important for us to identify problems that of clinical significance, because we are thinking about changes in practice. Remember that clinical fieldworks are important in order to conceive research projects and not randomly taking up studies based on our interest. And it's also important that the proper blueprint is available. Design of the study is very important. It has to be appropriate for the problem that you are choosing. The population has to be identified properly. The intervention protocols have to be well written and implemented. The sampling plan has to be clear. There should be proper tools that are used. More than anything, it's important for us to identify who are the people, what is your inclusion criteria, what is your exclusion criteria, and all of this with proper analysis and interpretation. And when we do this and keep it only in the cupboard or submit it to the university, don't think that it is going to ever change practice. As such a work that is done, it has to be published in good journals, journals that are peer reviewed, journals that have good standing, journals who are domain specific, journals which are into prominent databases. Because you do a good research work, you publish it in a predatory journal. The people who are involved in systematic review are not going to look at your predatory journal. That's the reason why many of our researchers are not able to contribute to practice change. So how do? We need to take care when we do the primary research, designing to completion and publication or communication of the findings in the right sources. And once we have done that, we may have a chance of getting into generating evidence. And that is possible by consolidation from existing studies using systematic reviews and meta-analysis. So what are the steps of conducting a systematic review? Remember, systematic reviews cannot be done by one individual. I cannot do it alone. Now, I'm thinking that I can do a systematic review on anemia in menopausal women. Now, I need to find right-minded people who are having expertise, who can dedicate certain amount of time and work within the time frame, who has resources to search for databases and extract data. I expect certain skill set from my co-investigators in this systematic review. So I may find somebody in some places, at least 3 people. Why I need minimum 3 people? Because I not only formulate a research question, I need to prepare a protocol to say how I'm going about doing a systematic review. It's not enough if I do that. I need to define inclusion and exclusion criteria as to what type of studies are going to be in the systematic review, what is going to be excluded. I say I will include only RCTs. I will say I will include say quasi-experimental studies. What I want to include and exclude, I have written down. Now, if there are only 2 people in my group, why it is not possible? It's because now I may say, yes, this study that I have identified should be included. My team member may say, no, it has to be excluded because it is not meeting the criteria. So when you have minimum 3 people, you go by majority opinion because all 3 are reading what you have searched and got, and you decide whether to be included or excluded. So then you locate the studies. How do you locate the studies? At least 2 to 3 databases have to be properly searched in order to gather primary studies. Out of that, when you locate the studies, how do you locate studies? It's important that you locate the studies properly. How do you locate? You need to give proper keywords. You need to do Boolean search. You need to use proper search strategies. If you don't know, you need to refer to the databases to get to know the tutorials. So you search proper databases. You are not searching Google or any such search engines. You are searching the real scientific databases because it's there that good studies are located. So you locate the studies, you locate studies, narrow down the search, say limiting to number of years, etc. After that, you select the study. Which study is going to be included, which study is not going to be included based on the criteria. And having done that, you assess study quality. How is the study quality? Various parameters are used. Maybe about the tool, about the number of subjects, how the data was collected, all clarity is obtained. You extract the data, you analyze summary and synthesis of relevant studies, you summarize, you present the results, and you give an interpretation, determining whether the results are applicable or not. So these are some of the steps of a systematic review. So what are we doing in evidence-based practice? We are basically asking what is a relevant question in the clinical area where the practice has to change. And based on that, you acquire the information. How do you acquire the information? You go search different sources, good scientific databases. You acquire evidence. You appraise the evidence. You find out what is good, what is not good, how it is impacted. You apply it into practice. One summary is made, you apply it into your practice. Say, for example, I want to say that I want to implement this sort of a nursing care in my hospital. you implement it, you apply it by sensitizing stakeholders, by taking required approval. If there are facilities that have to be included, including them, buying equipments, all that you do, you apply it in your setting. It's not enough if you just take evidence and apply it into practice. You need to analyze and say whether the new application is working. What is the outcome of applying that particular practice? So it is a cyclic process where you can go on improving your practice in your setting. Thereby, you get the best research evidence of whether this recent application or change in practice is working or not. So we can say that the steps of evidence-based practice is basically cultivating a spirit of inquiry, inquisitive mind or questioning. You ask a burning question. What is the population? What is the intervention? Who's the comparison group? What is the outcome? How much time frame? All these things need to be asked. Search for or collect more relevant or best evidence. Critically appraise the evidence. Integrate best evidence. Integrate is using and evaluate the practice and decide whether you need to put this into practice or change the practice. And disseminate outcome of evidence-based practice decision or change. If it has worked or if it has not worked, you need to communicate. You can publish, you can communicate and say that evidence-based practice is going to work. Monisha, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. So we have seen how the steps of evidence-based practice can be put into practice. So I mentioned about PECOM. It is population, intervention, comparison, outcome, and time frame. We look at some examples. So this is an example that I have put to evidence-based teaching. It can be evidence-based practice as well. So what are we doing? We want to bring about, improvement of practice, or we want the new faculty members to be becoming smart and doing activities in a best possible way. So if my work is in terms of improving the quality of teachers, I say my population is the new faculty members. I think my practical problem is that I need faculty who are of good quality. So my population is a new faculty. Now what is S or I? In other words, I is intervention. What is the intervention that I'm thinking of? The intervention that I'm thinking of is using preceptors. If I say, I want to improve the new faculty members by assigning preceptors to them. That means I assign one old faculty who is able to mentor the new faculty. Now, what is a comparison? For one group, I may be using preceptors. For another group of new teachers, I may be doing some faculty development sessions. So it is a comparison that I have. One group, my intervention group, is having preceptors. My comparison group is having faculty development session. What is the outcome? I'm checking in both groups what is that the new faculty are doing in terms of managing their role as a teacher. So that is my outcome. I want to measure their performance. And what is T? T is the time frame. How much time do I have? I say I give up time of up to 1 year or 6 months, whatever. So this is the way we can address evidence-based practice questions or evidence-based teaching questions. Searching for evidence, I have already discussed, but remember, it's important for us to understand what are the mesh terms. Use database controlled vocabulary. We know that in every research that we publish, there are keywords that are available. And it's a trick or technique that people who search for literature have, that they use appropriate keywords. They need not use the same keyword. Alternative keywords, similar synonyms they use. Mesh terms have to be used so that you don't miss out on any literature of published work that is already available. What is Boolean search? And, or, but have to be used appropriately, and limiting the search by the period. What are the databases? You are aware there are many databases that are available which can be searched, and one significant one is Sinhan, where majority of the nursing literature is available. It doesn't mean that other databases are not good. We have PubMed, we have Scopus, Web of Science, many databases. Whichever you have, major 2 to 3, you will have to search. And the work of systematic review has become easier because there are electronic databases that are available for us. And how do we search? We know how we can narrow down the search. Boolean search you use, keyword selection you do, you narrow down your search, limit to journals, specific type of journals, limit the time period, and use the tutorials. Critical appraisal, when you do, you are actually searching what is the purpose of the study, what is the sample size, what is the instrument used, what analysis techniques have been used, what are the untoward incidents during study. See, this is very important. When you are publishing your work, say you have done an interventional research, many times we only project what is good about our work. If at all there have been untoward incidents due to which subjects have dropped out, or there were side effects, problems, they also need to be documented, because this is what is critical appraisal doing. If you don't make any mention of anything, it means that you have not documented it properly, even if there were untoward incidents. Supportive findings of earlier research and checking whether it is relevant to clinical practice. And then you put the best evidence into your practice. After that, you decide about what is appropriate strategy. You sensitize people because you are thinking about changing your practice. It's not possible for you as a nursing superintendent to overnight change the policy or practice. You need to train people. You need to talk to the supervisors. You need to take administrative permissions. Maybe you will have to order some equipments. You need to have people who will monitor how it is working. These are all very important things when we think about bringing about changes in practice. So when you do a systematic review, you get to represent the findings in a summarized form. Like this is known as a forest plot. Now this is a systematic review of, is hand washing effective to reduce spread of respiratory disease? And they searched, they came across so many studies. The studies which were included were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 studies. It is mentioning how many cases each study had, each case, how many controls were there, and period of the study, everything. And odds ratio, what is the weightages, and it is depicted clearly, confidence interval and everything. So the power of the study is there, effect size is there, all analysis, everything is put in here. So we find one vertical line, the middle line over here. It is showing that odds ratio is 1. If odds ratio is 1, it means that the study is neither favoring control nor the experimental group. So it is showing that indeterminate result. If this is showing in the middle. In this study, you see this one first study is showing neither encourage hand wash. Whereas many other studies are showing that all of these studies have shown that hand washing frequently has reduced respiratory infections. So many of the studies are in the intervention side, favoring frequent hand wash. So when all this is put together, analyzed, you see this diamond. This diamond is also towards favoring frequent hand wash. The final evidence compiled of all these studies. Look at the third study. Third study is inconclusive. Why? Maybe because the sample size is small compared to other studies, or that the confidence interval or the power of the study always. So you see, this is the way the systematic review and meta-analysis is done and the finding is depicted. So such type of work you can see when as a outcome. So disseminate the outcome of evidence-based practice, decision or change. How can you do it? You can do the presentation, you can report, you can prepare a protocol, poster you can prepare, fact sheets you can prepare, and all this. Now, we may be thinking that, say, looking at the steps of systematic review, so many steps are there. I have no time to search. I don't have resources or databases. I don't find a good team member who can do systematic review with me and improve practice in my hospital. We need not be discouraged. There are enormous ready-made evidences available for practice, changing in evidences for practice. What are they? There are global presence of systematic reviews. Many of the get into that particular database. You are looking at a protocol on anemia, search for that. Or you want to talk about how early mobilization will bring about outcomes in patients after surgery, or about feeding practices, or assignment of patients to nurses. Think about any topic of interest. You search in these databases and find out if there are already ready-made available evidences available. So there are systematic reviews which are readily available. Not that always the practitioners have to break their head. See, also it is talking about which is freely available, which is not freely available. Some of the databases I have listed here. Some you need to pay, and institutions which want to bring about changes in practice at any cost, even if payment is there, these are the databases that are available. So how can we apply evidence-based practice to nursing to bring about changes in nursing practice? You may be already knowing there are clinical practice guidelines, which is talking about recommendations intended to optimize patient care. These are the recommendations for caring for a person with a particular disease, maybe already there. These guidelines are not developed by one person. This is decided by a panel of experts, and it gives quality of evidence. So clinical practice guidelines are available in the hospitals, which need to be practiced uniformly by everyone. So there are also clinical practice guidelines which are provided to individual hospitals or hospital groups who want to bring about improvement in practice. See, look at the resources I have listed, clinical practice guidelines. And you can access it through usual search engines that we use, Google, Yahoo, or any such search engines. So we would have also heard about care bundles. What are care bundles? How different are they from practice guidelines? Evidence-based practice, the readily available evidences are available through care bundles, especially with hospitals going for accreditation, or we think about consumer rights and things like that. We are concerned about quality. Care bundles are where several interventions are used in combination or as a cluster, giving best outcome for the client. For example, ventilator associated pneumonia, VAP care bundles are available, or surgical site infection prevention related care bundles are available. Enormous number of care bundles are available, especially hospitals with accreditation may be using these care bundles. Everything is available in a compact form. Now, what is fact sheet? I mentioned about fact sheets earlier. The evidence-based information is displayed like a poster in a very attractive way, saying what is the question, what is the finding, and how is the result, so that you just look at the poster and quickly you learn what has to be done. And maybe you will search, you will practice what is already put up in your hospital. You may also have heard about ISBAR, where it is a communication tool. You are able to use evidence-based process. You describe the situation, you provide background of what that you are doing. You do the assessment and you give a recommendation. This is also evidence. Is nursing process an evidence-based practice? Many times the undergraduate students or postgraduate students may be tired of writing so many care plans, and without using say a lot of thinking, they may be just copying or simply cooking up things and writing. And do you think that this is actually integrating evidence? When we have a system where manually you need to assess the patient and you write nursing diagnosis, you have a set of by-hearted nursing diagnosis available and the goals you prepare accordingly. And your plan of action is same for everything. You don't know if there is specific plan available for diarrhea, which can prevent or reduce the effect. And you don't know whether after students write the plan of action, whether they implement or anybody will implement it for the patient. So when we think about nursing process, many times maybe we can say it is improving learning of assessment, diagnosis, and all that. But the best way nursing process can contribute to evidence-based practice is when nursing process or care plans are integrated with technology, or say AI or any such latest developments. How it works. For example, I'm the nurse who's working in say corporate sector hospital where there is a facility available, or in some abroad countries. Integration of information technology is there. See, me as a nurse, I have 5 patients in this shift and I have a computer with me. The computer may be on wheels. See, my essential desk which I can move from patient to patient. I get a patient X. I need to do the admission assessment. I do a detailed admission assessment. I don't have to write nursing diagnosis after that. When I say the patient has eye discharge, the patient has cough, or the patient has, say, altered equilibrium, I find through assessment, the nursing diagnosis will automatically appear on my screen. Now, what is my job as a nurse? Not to write state nursing diagnosis. My job is to say which is my first priority to address, which is my second priority to address, which is my last priority to address. So accordingly, the goals will automatically appear on screen. And what is my first priority will come on top. What is my last priority will come last. Now, what is a plan of action? I don't have to scratch my head for plan of action because evidence-based practice guidelines are embedded into my system. When I say I discharge, say maybe 7, 8 plan of action will come. Clean the eye or apply cold compress or eye irrigation, whatever I am supposed to do is coming in the plan of action. I read that. I am a nurse at the bedside. I have no time to search for evidence. Plan of action is in front of me and it is a trusted practice guideline provided by my employer or my nursing department. Read that, I start implementing. During my shift, I implement. At the end of my shift, I evaluate. You see how beautifully it embeds evidence-based practice. So there is enormous scope when we integrate technology into nursing process. It can do wonders for the patient. What are the skills required for evidence-based practice? Definitely, you need to have sensitive listening skills. You need to have good assessment skills. More than anything, clinical expertise is to be there, experience. Conducting efficient review, reasoning skill has to be there. Because you know research, it doesn't mean that you are going to improve patient care. It depends on whether you have all the resources. So I refer to many research studies which talked about evidence-based practice barriers. There are individual barriers that me as a teacher is facing, or X as a clinical nurse is facing. So individually we have barriers. We have professional barriers. So basically, you see, it is the team that matters. If your nursing department doesn't have any value for research, any value for bringing about changes in practice, so that is a professional barrier. There are organizational barriers. Say there is no autonomy for nurses, there is no library facility, there is no information technology or computers available, there is no access to internet, there is no time available that can be allotted, there are no experts to guide. These are all organizational barriers. And research as it is, research, people consider, many nurses consider research is tough. It is filled with jargons, statistics, they feel it will put them off. High quality studies are not available or adequate databases are not available or replication of the study is not done. Clinical relevance is not there. People won't appreciate. So there are many barriers that nurses or practitioners face when it comes to evidence-based practice, and we need to address. There is a solution for everything. We need to address each of these barriers, and it is possible that we do evidence-based practice. So in order to do evidence-based practice, it is not going to come overnight. Many studies that I referred to find out barriers said that many colleges don't teach research properly. Students simply write some answers, they search, they read some guide type of books, exam point of view, they pass. Even there are colleges where undergraduate projects are not done. There are colleges where there are no postgraduate teachers who can guide the students in completing their research projects. There are colleges where they don't check whether student is doing, it is outsourced. Whether PG or PhD, researchers are outsourced. The scholar doesn't know what is happening. So there is a lot of such things happening, and real learning may not be happening for students in terms of what is research. Because it's important for us to understand research well in order to say create primary research or to consolidate existing evidence. So students also should be encouraged to clinical questions with evidence-based It's good if we can have journal clubs, especially PGs, faculty members to have journal clubs so that it is creating a research environment. We talk about nursing rounds. At the same time, we can also have EBP rounds that is happening in the hospital in collaboration with the colleges, teachers, and we can have discussion, post-conference, all this. And nursing process in order to implement it in the real sense so that it will create clinical inquiry. It will teach students clinical inquiry, for which teachers need to do evidence-based teaching. What is evidence-based teaching? Now, I have written here some points. When I say use evidence-based EBP rounds, I have given a reference. What is that? So like this, when the teacher is teaching, teacher should have reference for what they are saying. And it is based on what research evidence. So it's more work for teachers, but it is worth doing that we train young teachers and students into evidence-based practice by teaching clinical inquiry and using evidence-based resources. So this can bring about changes in practice. I have few review questions. I think I'm running behind schedule, so I'll not go to those details. So we can say that changing established behavior is difficult. So is evidence-based nursing practice. Nursing research must focus on significant clinical problems so that we do proper researches which are clinically relevant. There is need to establish sufficient evidence through high quality primary research. It's not enough how many research you have done, how many good research you have done, which have made an impact. That is important. High quality research doesn't mean that any research done with good quality is good. Published in high quality peer reviewed journals is very important. And this only has the potential to find a place in systematic review or meta-analysis or meta-synthesis when it comes to qualitative research. Collective evidences bring about changes in practice and not individual work. So nursing practice rooted in evidence is the need of the hour. And when our practices are based on research evidences, we have better standing in the healthcare team and people take us seriously. So therefore, all of us with some understanding of research and some ability to mentor youngsters or young nurses, we are in a better position to influence people to bring about changes in practice through research. So thank you. Any questions? Have few references for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Leena ma'am, for this session. And
I'll be happy to address questions if any.
if any audience is having any question to ma'am, they can ask. I think ma'am, no one is having any questions.
I see one
So-
Lavanya's hands up.
She has raised her hand. Yeah, Lavanya ma'am, are you there? If you are willing, you can ask anything, any questions to ma'am. I think she's not available now.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, most welcome, ma'am. Yeah. So we will move on to the next speaker, and the next resource person is Dr. Dinesh Selvam sir. He's a principal and professor of Amity College of Nursing, Amity University, Haryana. And regarding his professional experience, he's having 25 plus years of experience, and as an awards, he's carrying AMM Arnachalam Trust Silver Medal Award for Best Clinical Nursing in MSc Nursing, Umayal Achi College of Nursing, and Best Research Paper Presentation in International Conference on Epidemiological Research in Advanced Nursing Practices, organized by PIMS, and Best Institution, Best Teacher Award for World Record, easy title, Conserve Natural Resources for Future Generation by Karnataka State Karnataka State Pollution Control Board. Even he is holding a lifetime achievement for receiving Doctorate of Philosophy in Nursing awarded by ICCR and OACN, and he is having a special experience award for Distinguished Services Award in Nursing Education in September 2021, and he has been awarded as a Best Teacher Award in October 2021 and PIP Inspiring Educator Award in 2021. So it's over to you, Selvam sir.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
That was a nice welcome from your side. Thank you for that. And I hope audience all are very keen to listen my session and before they go for lunch.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I want to present, I want to share my, but I'm not able to share. Why?
Shall I? If you are not willing, then I will do it, sir.
No. Okay. I'm not able to share.
Did you
One
got
minute.
it, sir? Yeah, sure, sir.
No, only the screen I am able to share. Okay, you can share. No, it was
Okay,
time.
sure, sir. I'll do it. So now is it fine?
Yeah. So I will just make the presentation very simple. And the topic given to me is the based on research capacity building, the cultivating human capital and collaborative networks. The next slide. So
Yes, sir.
we should know about this research capacity building. As you have seen the various topics in this conference that is organized on healthcare education and research. So on the research aspect, this research capacity building serves to be an sort of important, how you can say that it's very important. See, based on the capacity, you are going to come out with the output. So here the research capacity is very essential when you want to build a strong research output in your organization, and also as an individual, as a researcher, what capacity I have to build, and as an institution, what capacities they have to build and how they can collaborate. So this is what I understand about the topic. And moving to the next slide, I also want to highlight about certain capacity building levels. Next slide, please. Manisha. Yeah. There are the levels of capacity building, as I already told you in the previous slide. It can be an individual, organization, and also environmental. So when we are talking about individual, it basically depends upon the skill, knowledge, and confidence of the individual researcher and the faculty existing. And when we are talking about the organization, so it is the organization or the institution or what infrastructure available in that particular institution and how the system is managed and how the importances and the processes are given for the research and development. When we are talking about the third level, we call it as a systemic or environmental level, but it is the level where the entire state, nation, and also sometimes the international regulations work on cultivating a research climate or a research culture, you can say. So the research is not as per the requirement you do a research and you stop it. There should be a sustainable culture of research development in any organization. So the level of capacity building, as I told you, you can see here how the individual and also the interpersonal you collaborate. Here comes the interpersonal in the institution, within the department, between the institutions and between the department, like intercollaborative, and then goes to the inter-organizational level. So these are the various levels of research capacity building, what an institution can do. A framework is being given in this slide based from Cook's framework, which was published, and it evaluates how a research capacity building can be in any healthcare organization or in giving the healthcare research. So here again, it envisage the importance of the levels of capacity building, and also it gives certain dimensions where the leadership, empowerment is required, and it also gives the levels. You can see there the individual level and the team collaboration between the departments, and what is the need in the health services, what kind of health research has to be done. Then you can see when you are moving up, you can see the network and the support, what you have to create within the environment, which we were telling about, that within the institution or within the nation, within the state, or even international. So this is how you develop a capacity building, but it is being protected, or it is being into the context of the social and political thing that is available within the nation or within that environment. So saying something about this, the research capacity building and its importance. Now we move on to the two important things which is being given for this presentation. Next slide. That is human capital and collaborative network. So you have seen there in the previous slides the importance of research capacity building thing, or keep in your mind about the institutional level, and then you think about the organizational level, and you think about the national or international level. So in this context, with the political and with the social and with the health needs and problems available around us, how as a researcher, as an organization, you are going to develop this human capital and collaborative networks is what you are going to understand. So I just want to say some definitions of what we mean by human capital and collaborative networks in the previous slide. Yeah. See, human capital, we refer human capital as the skill, the knowledge, and the experience of the researchers. So it's very clear. So we think about the knowledge, the skill, and the experience. So as a human capital, investing in a research, so that particular human or the what you have to develop in them is knowledge, skill, and the experience in research. So how we are going to develop these three among the researchers, that is the human capital what you have to develop the research capacity building. The next level is the collaborative network. So you have that human in your organization. Now you have to collaborate. You have to get connection within the department and within the institution, between the institution. Why it is necessary? It is to share the knowledge, and again for the human capital to improve their knowledge and skill, to gain experience. So these two, the next slide you can go now. These two are what I mean to say, the two pillars of research capacity building. So this human capital and collaborating or having or developing a network are both considered as the pillars, and they are very essential to transform the institutions to the highly performing research institutions and to sustain its level So you have to continuously, as an organization, should develop this or cultivate this human capital and collaborative network. That's what this slide says about they are the twin engines, which is going to drive you into the scientific and the research products. So we say human capital, don't forget the knowledge and the skill and the experience which has to be developed in the human capital. It is going to produce the talent, and it is going to produce the capacity to network, to establish the network. Right, the next slide. So now we will talk about a few things about the human capital, and we will move and talk about few things about the second part, establishing the collaboration, and this both how it can be done. So that's what I wanted to put you for the today's presentation, where you can see the key components. I already told it's about knowledge, skill, and experience. So here I have given it in a very neatly and concisely and catchy way, where first is the technical skills. You know what are the technical skills are required in research, especially you can go into the research process and all the skills that is required in each and every steps of the research process. Then we need soft skills like leadership. When you want to drive the project, you are the principal investigator. So you have to develop a team and you have to go on with the research, and you have to manage a project. You have taken a project from the institution or extramural or intramural, or you are collaborating. So what will happen? How you are going to manage? And the next is the communication, how you are going to present and how you are going to publish your results and your environment within the research environment, isn't it? Right. Then mentorship. One more important thing is mentorship. So the knowledge, skill, and the experience. And in order to achieve this, we need a good mentor. So who has to overlook the capacity of the individuals in each and every organization. Then you need a partnership, because always research, we call it as a demand driven, or it is based upon the initiatives that is existing due to the health needs. And this varies between the different status of the countries. In the low income countries, middle income countries, and high level income countries, all the priorities of the research and the funding, everything, there is a difference. So these things we consider as very important component in the research. Now, how you can cultivate, as I told, cultivate the human capital is, one is through education and training. So it's very formal education. You know that the research formally taught to the MSCs, and the project has been given to them to undergo the steps, and the same thing in a very detailed way for the PhDs. So these are all some formal programs, we can say. But not only that, you can also have on-the-job training of taking the nurses who are good in clinical knowledge and involving with the people who are good in research, and combining both of them and giving them more training for the clinical nurses and other academic nurses who are experienced to also focus on the research and train them to transfer their knowledge and skill and develop evidences through research. So this we always say, isn't it? So education and research comes in hand. Education, practice. So you have some knowledge, you put it into practice, and again you develop more evidences. Again you make the evidences as a knowledge. Again you ask questions on that and ask questions in your practice and develop new knowledges. Then comes the productivity and innovation. So this capacity building is about how you are going to improve the output. Is now you know where the technology has to be used. So it requires, in order to cultivate human capital, technology is very much required to incorporate. Then something called tacit knowledge. So we say it as an hidden knowledge. So you know we know people, they are very knowledgeable, we say, but sometimes they will be not having the formal research experience. Sometimes they will be not having a formal organization or the expressing of their experience into something which will produce evidence. So when you are working in a network in your clinical area, you should identify this kind of faculty nurses who are good in clinical, and we can utilize them in the clinical area where you are tapping the tacit knowledge from the individual. So as we are talking of this, there you can apply some strategies to develop or to cultivate this human capital, as I told you, training and workshop, then mentorship programs, where you can have a mentor to guide the research and to drive the people with experience in clinical into the research. Then collaboration, where you can collaborate with the individuals within the department and outside. Then performance-based funding or some of the strategies. So when you find some of the research assessment or research work of certain individuals or of good output, you can really, based upon their performance, you can start giving them or improving them by giving still more higher quality and independent research. And next one is learning by doing, where you have to experiment, you have to ask, conduct research, and make them to get that experience. Train them in the research, give them opportunity. That's how they get experience. You have to give opportunities. When the opportunities are given to the individuals, they really develop this research. So this is how what we say learning by doing. Not only the organization providing it, even as an individual, we should start. We should not get fear about going into the research. We should start doing it. Then you can learn a lot by doing. This is about the human capital. So again, I want to reinforce the human capital of how you can develop the knowledge, skill, and the experience in the research. So you need a mentor for this, and you need a lot of on-job training, and you need some formal education training also for this, and you have to give a lot of opportunities. As an individual also, you have to develop the opportunities. Now, collaborating the network. So we told two pillars. One is developing the human capital, and also developing the collaborating it with the network. So we can say about what is collaboration. We can say that collaboration is significantly where you are going to share your research output and impact with the other organization or other sources, and also you combine with other organization or with other source, or you can also say other discipline, different disciplines, and you can collaborate with the different geographic locations, and you can develop a network with some capitals, social capital, we say marketing, or with some big organizations who wants to come out with some evidences and who wants to prove their product, who want to come out the output of their product. This is one way of collaboration. And another one is leveraging the technology. So the digital platform and the social media are very powerful nowadays, and very stands as number one in developing the network and in sharing the knowledge, and also sometimes open or foster some innovation, and you get collaborated with many people when you are in the social media or in the net. So these are all of collaborations. Next slide. So by, as I say, this combine these two pillars so that you get good research capacity building, like when you are going on with synergy of human capital with collaborative network, what happens? So it increases research output, and you develop researchers with extensive and high quality connections, and all it depends upon the research output what you produce. So there will be people, when you are giving a continuous good research output, there are organizations which will recognize your center as an excellence, and which will recognize to come out openly to collaborate with you. And that's what the next is: resource sharing and efficiency. So you collaborate the network by sharing the knowledge. Not only that, even the technology. So you have a technology in one particular center, technology can be used with your research. You want some technology to be used for your research, you collaborate with the center where the technology is available. So like this, you collaborate and you come out with the efficiency in sharing the resources. Ultimately, the another important thing what you are going to get is about the innovation and the creativity. So the interaction between different expertise, they can be in the geographical area, they can be of different discipline, or they can be of different experience, all are going to create some innovation. right? Then the benefits and sustainability, the next slide, shows about the brain gain and increased productivity and long-term impact. Because see, we have to talk about sustainability. See, we do research and we finish it and we come and do some other work. No, how you are going to sustain is the major part in developing the capacity and collaborating. When you add collaborating, when you develop the capitals in your organization, you add collaborations. For what? You want to sustain in the research area and develop quality research products. And also there are certain challenges which I have highlighted in the next slide. It says about the power asymmetry, means there is no equal opportunity. You can take it in the terms of funding and also the experiences between the different level of countries. So which is a little challenging to collaborate internationally. And when we are talking about different levels of income countries, even between the organizations, the collaborations will be challenging because there is no equal distribution of the facility and the resources between the organization, funding, etc. Then infrastructure gaps, which everyone will accept, I think. You may say that I don't have internet facility in my area, I don't have a proper internet facility to do any reviews and systematic review, etc., and to come out with a lot of evidences. And we don't have that resources at all. The research is not considered to be important in my organization. Then as an individual, how I will cultivate my capacity. So these are all certain challenges. And sustainability, as I was already mentioning you, anything you do, you have to maintain the sustainability. You do it and you close it, then you have to develop some strategies which will maintain the sustainability. That's what now we are talking about, developing human capital and collaborating. Now, talking about these two pillars, human capacity and the collaborating network, how it is applied in developing or in creating an innovation in the healthcare research. And I am discussing about certain frameworks which has been done already and with evidences of collaborating human capacity and collaborative networks in providing high quality healthcare research. So quickly, this is about certain frameworks which we are going to see. This framework is an excellent framework where you can see they have given three things. You can see that: build, enhance, sustain. So first you have to build the capacity. Then how you are going to enhance in the sense how you are going to gear up, how you are going to form the team, how you are going to keep working on it, and what is going to be the leverage and how it is being sustained. So this is what happens when you are developing capacity building in research. So this is applied not only in the individual, as I told in the initial, there are different levels: researcher, department, faculty, institution, government, state or national. Okay, so this is how globally capacity building works on. And there are certain elements in it. You can see that first you construct, you build, and you expand it, you form a team, and you gear up, and you come out with a leverage, means the last level where you are going to sustain. So when anyone follows this framework from construct to expand to team to gear up and to leverage, it is like you are building, you are building the network till you are going to sustain. So here I have picked as a research how you can take this model, as a department or a faculty how you can take, as an institution how you can take, as a government how you can take. And I have just laid it here like what may be the construct, how you can expand and how you can team up, how you can gear up and how you can leverage. Next slide. I am not going into deep. My slides may be available later. You can see these are some of the strategies how as a department and faculty, how you can construct and how you can expand, how you can form a team, gear and leverage so that you sustain your research capability. Next, I have also discussed in the next slide about the as an institutional level. Next slide. And the next slide is at the government level. As a government level, I mean here the national and state level policies that are very much going to influence the practice of research, what you are going to do. So all these people form the capacity building, the various levels of capacity building, and has to collaborate also. Right. The next, again, I am discussing about the another evidence-based framework where they were telling, you can see there the center part, training, effective leadership, and partnership. So this three plus, you can see the last one, monitoring and evaluation and learning are done, you come out with the sustainable research capacity build. The next slide. Next slide. Yeah, this is another framework which I want to show you, where you can see the pillars of the developing the human capitals are: one, you have to alignment with the priority in the need, and partnership and collaboration, innovation, and advocacy. So with 4 as a pillar, which is surrounded with the elements of political will, the research culture which is available in your organization, and the research leadership, and the regulatory mechanisms of funding and recognizing organizations, all forms an important element to evolve around the process. So here, financing is important, governance is important, and producing and using research, produce evidence and utilize the evidence, and you create a sustaining resources for research capacity building. Such a wonderful framework. And I have another short 2-3 slides. Next slide is about the critical elements when we are talking about research capacity building in sustaining the health. One, training diverse cadre. So all these points we were already discussed in the previous slide. So I am just highlighting it. No, training different cadres and research methodology, very essential. You train them how to write a proposal. You train them how to grant a proposal. Then only you build a capacity. Then establish and maintain infrastructure, capacities, lab testing, and repositories where you store the previous research works, and the data management, biostatistics, ethics. It's another big challenge for anyone who wants to go to research. They face a lot of problem in the reviews. Then regulatory capacities. Then research support centers where you get grants, where you get finance management. And as I told you, there is difference of priorities in different states, even in different nations. So you need a partnership and collaboration in this network, and mentorship. As I was talking, mentorship, not only at the local level, even from the external organizations and the international advice required to develop a good research. Next. Regular scientific meetings where you can call for scientists to come and present how they have done their paper, and all this will improve the capacity of the young researchers in that organization. And you diverse the research funds. The organization should take a key role, okay, the research department, in finding out the funds and bringing it to the departments and motivating the particular department to go on with that work. And as I told you, the country-led research agendas and the demand for the research, and come out with a lot of evidence-based policies are all very critical. And community engagement, it's very essential. You want to do a research without community engagement and without the population, it's not going to happen. And data and milestones, research driven. 1 minute. Now, telling about this critical points, I want to again refresh about capacity building. I just want to end my presentation with 2 slides of takeaway points. And it may be one, as I told you, how you can strengthen the individual level, who are the main basement of the capacity building, and also strengthening the institutional level. So one, you can talk about the trainings, and short-term and long-term, and library and online facilities should be utilized by the individual, and they should be provided with a supervisor whom we call as a mentor. And also, instead of forcing them to go and participate in all the workshops and conferences, some set of funds also can be provided for them. And as I told you, mentors are very much essential in every stage of life. Mainly their role will be more when they are going for publications and when they want to do something on research. and the supplementation can be given for the research work and grants and technical assistance and responsibility as a researcher. See, they take research, but they don't own that responsibility. They just do it as a part and they want to finish. When they are taking own responsibility, it gives more result. Then the next slide tells about as an institutional or national level, what are the things can be done. Next slide, please. It talks about the provision of equipment, library facilities, and funding the institutional heads to develop the research, and the own institution itself can give some direct some funds towards the research and to improve the publication quality of the institution, and they can give a lot of inputs on the various research designs, and they can also have a control over the research activities going on in the institution and also the funding, and they can also acquire the copyright of the work done. So these are all will motivate the institutions or also the national or state level in order to develop. I don't know if you have time, you can just enter this sort of for the participants to participate. Can you click that slide? Is it working? You should have that Slido dot in your, if it is, okay, it's not working, then leave it. Go to the next slide. It has to be installed in your system maybe. Okay. So this is all about today's topic. Next slide, please. And the references for the presentation. Next slide. The references of the presentation were taken from some important sources, which was talking more about building and evaluating the research capacity in the healthcare and in national and international level. And that's about my presentation. The last slide you can. Thank you all for patiently listening, and I wrapped up within time and context given to me. Thank you. I can see Clement sir. Clement sir, hi. Hello sir. Clement sir, good afternoon.
Sir is there.
Yeah.
Because when we were in college, sir, just we used to refer like some good books, and when just we got the search book, so just when I saw that for this conference, let me be precise and clear to all. Just I'm die-hard fan of Clement sir and Shrivani ma'am.
See, but that's so. Can I make it full screen from your side or from my side? Is that possible?
Ma'am, now is it okay?
No, it's the same.
Is the same? I'll do it, ma'am.
Yeah, now it's fine. Okay.
Now it's fine, ma'am.
So first of all, we should, I believe all of you are aware about this, very much familiar. So we'll discuss maybe some of the points. If you know something new, we can discuss, you can share that. Or if I'm leaving something, you can share that. So here, first of all, we should understand what is sampling. Sampling, as you all know, it's a small part of something. For example, when cooking rice or something, we are taking just a few and just rice particle and checking whether it's cooked or not. Similarly, example, if a pathologist, they are taking just a few ml of blood to understand the hemoglobin level or something. In research, sampling is the process of taking a small part or the subset of the individual that define the whole population to whom our research finding is going to be generalized. Means whatever the result we will find after analysis, that result will be generalized to the whole population. So now selecting a small portion or the subset of individuals, those will resemble or represent the whole population. That's why it's very important. If that subset, it's not logically and very carefully, it's not selected, then the whole work will go lost. So in a research study, it's not just possible to study the entire population. That's why we are taking a small subset that is called the sample, and deriving that sample from the population, that process is called sampling. This process means it's obtaining information regarding the phenomenon and the entire population by examining a part. It must resemble all the characteristics of the population to whom our result will be generalized. Then sampling is the process of selecting representative segment of the population. The way of formulating sample, it varies depending on the type of study and the availability of subject. And there are many other factors are there. We will discuss that. Next. Now first, why this sampling matter? Because there are few things if we are taking a small sample and it's whatever the result, it will be generalized to all the population. So this is how it saves time. It makes the study feasible and of course low cost. Make the research feasible. It improves the manageability. A small group we can manage easily. Convenience for the researcher to conduct the study. Improved quality of data. Sampling makes the supervision more effective, and proven fact that when a person handles less amount of work, it's easy to ensure the quality of the outcome. Then quick study result enables the study statistical interference. So that's why easy to quickly come to the conclusion or the inference. Then precision and accuracy of data. It's easy to maintain the accuracy of the data and easy to develop rapport with the sample and easy to deal and get the data. Next. Now, there are certain terms we should understand. There is a relation between population and sampling, and few other terms are there. Those are related with these things. We should know those things. So target population. Target population, it is the entire population to whom our result will be generalized. So that is called the target population, and they have the same characteristics that we have selected as inclusion criteria. And then another term is accessible population. Accessible population means the population available to the researcher, means from whom the data actually can be collected, accessible to the researcher. Those are accessible population. Then sample. This is a representative unit of the target population, the population that is targeted to generalize the study result. Sampling unit means every individual in the sample or the participant, or otherwise we are also using the term subject or participant. So each participant is a sampling unit. Sampling frame, it is a list of eligible participants from where we are drawing the sample. Sampling bias, it is a distortion that arises when a sample is not a representative of the target population. Sampling plan is the formal plan that specifies the sampling method. What method you are going to select to derive the sample and what will be the sample size. So these are called sampling plan. Next. Now there are few steps of sampling process, how to derive a sample. The first is identify and defining the target population. So this is based on the topic that you will decide and whom you will take, means the data, whatever your objective. After deciding the study title, topic, then you are formulating the objectives. Now based on the objectives, whatever answer you need, data you need to collect, from whom you are going to collect, who are your target population. So based on that, you have to identify the target population. Then describe the accessible population, means matching the target population or the exact representative of the target population who are available to you from where you can get data. So such type of sample from where you will means you can access, that will be accessible population. So you have to decide on that. So from you can get the data. Then ensuring the sampling frame, how to means derive the sample. Then specifying the sampling unit. That means in the sampling frame, who will be there? And specifying sample selection method, which method you are going to select to get the sample. And determine the sample size. Sample size determination, it is another topic. So specifying the sampling plan, then that includes sampling technique and sampling size. Selecting a desired sample. So this means drawing a representative sample from the accessible population. These are few steps we have to follow. So this is all of you are following all the time, because those are those have done research and they know these are the steps we are following. Now there are few factors that influencing the sampling process. First is nature of researcher. In that, lack of experience and honesty, intensive workload, inadequate supervision. This nature of researcher not only influence the sampling process, sampling technique, but also this influence the whole research methodology, each and everything. It also influence the data collection and everything. So this is very important. If the researcher is not well versed or not experienced about the sampling technique and its advantages, disadvantages, then they might means unable to take or select a proper sample. Then intensive workload, sometimes because of over workload also, researchers they try to select a easy convenience way something. So there are, again we will discuss the types of sampling in there, that we'll discuss the advantages, disadvantages. So oftentimes because of over workload, maybe researcher they avoid the random sampling technique, and most of the time they prefer to take convenience sampling, non-random technique. Then inadequate supervision. So these are few of the nature of the researcher. The nature of sample also influencing sampling process. Inappropriate sampling technique or sample size, if it is too large and become heterogeneous, if it's not the exact representative of the target population, or biased sample or defective sampling frame. If the sampling frame is defective, that is all are not homogeneous. Then there are circumstances also sometimes influencing the process, like lack of time and cooperation, large geographic area, and natural calamities. So natural calamities, like something happened and after that some subjects means they are not available or they displaced from that area. So these are some of the difficulty we may face. Now coming to types of sampling method. There are two main types of sampling method. Probability sampling, also known as randomized sampling technique, and non-probability or non-randomized sampling technique.